In this video, we're breaking down 2 hours of Naruto secrets. Let's get started. First up, we got Origin of Chakra, Kaguya, and the God Tree. Origin of Chakra, Kaguya, and the God Tree. Before ninjas could throw fireballs or summon giant toads, before anyone on Earth even knew what chakra was, the world existed in a very different state. Chakra, the energy that powers every single jutsu in the Naruto universe, came from somewhere specific. This whole story starts with an alien princess named Kaguya Otsutsuki, a massive tree called the God Tree, and a forbidden fruit that changed everything about human existence on the planet. The story goes back thousands of years before the hidden villages were even a concept. During this time, Earth was stuck in an endless cycle of wars. Countries fought countries, clans fought clans, and people were dying constantly. The ground was soaked with blood from all these battles that went on for what seemed like forever. But what the people of Earth didn't know was that their planet had been targeted by beings from another dimension. The Otsutsuki clan, celestial aliens who traveled across the universe, had identified Earth as their next harvest location. Their method was calculated and brutal. They would arrive at a planet, plant something called a 10-tails seedling, and begin a process that would drain the entire world of its life energy. The 10-tails acted as the seed for what would eventually grow into the God Tree. The God Tree would grow into something absolutely massive. We're talking about a tree so enormous that it reached into the sky like a pillar connecting Earth to the heavens. The people living during that time had no idea what this tree really was or where it came from. They saw this giant tree and thought it must be something sacred, something sent by the gods themselves. They worshipped it. They called it a divine pillar. They built their beliefs around it. But here's what they didn't understand. The God Tree wasn't there to help them. It was actually doing the opposite. While everyone praised it and worshipped it, the God Tree was slowly draining the life energy from everything around it. It absorbed chakra from the soil, the rocks, the water, the air, and eventually from living beings themselves. The tree was basically a parasite that would keep draining energy until the entire planet died. Every 1,000 years, this tree would produce something called a chakra fruit. The people were told to stay away from this fruit no matter what. It was forbidden. Nobody was supposed to go near it, let alone eat it. The fruit was considered sacred and untouchable. Now we need to talk about who Kaguya Otsutsuki was and why she came to Earth in the first place. Kaguya belonged to a clan called the Otsutsuki clan. These weren't regular people. They were aliens, celestial beings from another dimension who traveled across the universe looking for planets where they could cultivate God trees. Their whole purpose was to plant 10-tails seedlings on these worlds, make them grow into God trees, harvest the chakra fruit, and eat it to gain incredible power and extend their lives. They would move from planet to planet, drain each world completely, and then move on to the next one. Earth was just another target on their list. The way the Otsutsuki operated was through a partnership system. They traveled in pairs, and one member of the pair would be sacrificed to the 10-tails seedling. This sacrifice was necessary for the seedling to mature properly into a God Tree. The healthier and stronger the sacrifice, the more powerful the resulting chakra fruit would be. Once the God Tree produced its fruit, the surviving Otsutsuki would consume it and gain tremendous power. Kaguya came to Earth with a partner named Ishiki Otsutsuki. The plan was clear from the start. Kaguya was the lower-ranking member of the duo. According to their mission, she was supposed to be the sacrifice. Ishiki was meant to feed her to the 10-tails seedling, wait for the God Tree to grow and bear fruit, then consume that fruit himself. But something changed inside Kaguya. She spent time on Earth and grew fond of the planet. She saw the people, she experienced life there, and she didn't want to see Earth destroyed like all the other planets the Otsutsuki had ravaged. More importantly, she wanted power for herself. Kaguya made a decision that would change history forever. She betrayed Ishiki. In a sudden and brutal ambush, Kaguya attacked her partner and nearly killed him. Ishiki only survived because he possessed the ability to shrink himself down to microscopic size. He used this power to escape death by parasitizing a nearby monk named Jigen, hiding inside the monk's body to stay alive. With Ishiki out of the picture and unable to complete the mission, Kaguya somehow managed to cultivate the God Tree on her own. The exact details of how she accomplished this without providing the proper Otsutsuki sacrifice remain mysterious, but she succeeded. The God Tree grew, and eventually, it bore the chakra fruit. This is where Kaguya made the choice that changed everything. Despite the taboo, despite the warnings, Despite everything that said humans should never touch this fruit, Kaguya ate it. The moment that fruit went down, everything changed. Kaguya became the very first person on Earth to possess chakra. Her body transformed. A third eye opened in the center of her forehead, something called the Rinne Sharingan. This eye gave her powers that made her essentially a goddess. She could do things that seemed impossible. She had strength beyond imagination. She could manipulate reality itself. The chakra fruit gave her control over space, time, and the elements. Kaguya used these new godlike abilities to do something that actually seemed positive at first. She ended the wars. With her overwhelming power, she brought all the fighting to a stop. People saw what she could do, and they stopped their conflicts. They began worshipping her, not just as a princess anymore, but as a goddess, as a divine being who brought peace to their war-torn world. But power changes people. Some believe the chakra fruit itself affected her personality, warping her mind and making her different from who she used to be. Kaguya became obsessed with chakra. She ruled over the people with an iron fist. Anyone who defied her or disobeyed her faced brutal punishment. The people who once worshipped her as a savior began to fear her as a demon instead. Terror replaced reverence. In the expanded storyline, Kaguya took things even further. She developed a technique called the Infinite Tsukuyomi, a massive genjutsu that could trap people in an endless dream. Those caught in this technique would be bound to the god tree itself. The tree would wrap them in its roots, drain their chakra completely, and transform them into creatures called White Zetsu. These White Zetsu were mindless soldiers with no will of their own, completely under Kaguya's control. People would disappear, and their families would never see them again. The fate that awaited them was to become part of Kaguya's army, drained of everything that made them human. Then Kaguya had two sons. Their names were Hagoromo and Hamura. These were the first human beings ever born with chakra naturally in their bodies. They inherited this power from their mother. For a while, Hagoromo and Hamura lived without really understanding what their mother was doing. They grew up in what seemed like a peaceful land under Kaguya's rule. But they were forbidden from going near the god tree. They noticed something strange though. People would be selected for certain rituals, and those people would never return. Nobody questioned it because everyone feared Kaguya too much to ask. One day, a giant toad sage named Gamamaru approached the two brothers. This toad told them that if they traveled beyond the mountains, they would discover the truth about what was really happening. At first, the brothers ignored this warning. But when someone close to Hagoromo, a local girl named Haori, disappeared, Hagoromo couldn't ignore it anymore. The brothers went to investigate. What they found horrified them. They discovered the truth about what their mother was doing to the people. They saw how the god tree was being used to drain life from humans. They understood that Kaguya's version of peace came at a terrible cost. Hagoromo tried to confront his mother and reason with her. He wanted to believe there was a way to make her understand that what she was doing was wrong. But Kaguya saw her son's chakra as rightfully hers. She had given birth to them, and in her twisted view, any chakra they possessed belonged to her. She wanted to take it back. In some accounts of the story, Kaguya brainwashed Hamura and forced him to fight against Hagoromo. Brother fought brother because Kaguya controlled Hamura's mind. Hagoromo had no choice. He struck down his own brother to free him from their mother's control. Hagoromo used a special seal tag that Gamamaru had given him, something filled with great sage power that had been refined over centuries. This seal healed Hamura and broke him free from Kaguya's brainwashing. This confrontation awakened incredible power within Hagoromo. He came to possess the Rinnegan, legendary eyes with abilities that would prove crucial in what came next. These eyes were connected to the incredible chakra and power that Hagoromo inherited and developed. When Kaguya realized both her sons were going to oppose her, she made a terrifying decision. She merged herself with the god tree. The tree transformed into a creature called the Ten Tails, a massive beast with unimaginable destructive power. The Ten Tails was essentially the god tree's will given monstrous physical form. Kaguya became one with this creature. She used it to try to forcefully reclaim all the chakra that had been spread around. The Ten Tails went on a rampage across the land. It decimated everything in its path. Mountains were destroyed. The landscape was torn apart. This monster was so powerful that it seemed impossible to stop, but Hagoromo and Hamura stood against it anyway. These two brothers fought their own mother, who had transformed into the Ten Tails, in a prolonged and devastating battle that reshaped the world. The land was destroyed in the process. The environment was permanently scarred by the scale of this conflict. The battle between the brothers and the Ten Tails became legend, a clash so massive that its effects could be seen across the entire planet. Eventually, after this incredibly long and devastating battle, Hagoromo and Hamura managed to do something that seemed impossible. They defeated and sealed away Kaguya. The brothers used a powerful sealing technique called Six Paths, Chibaku Tensei, an ultimate jutsu that could only be performed by those who possessed Six Paths power. They combined their abilities and sealed Kaguya's body away. The technique created what would become the moon itself, a massive sphere formed around Kaguya's sealed form. With their mother contained, Hagoromo then took a monumental step. He sealed the Ten Tails' chakra within himself, making him the very first Jinchuriki in history. A Jinchuriki is someone who has a tailed beast sealed inside their body. By containing the Ten Tails within himself, Hagoromo prevented its power from running wild. People who witnessed this victory began to worship Hagoromo. They called him a god. They saw him as a savior who defeated the demon that had been destroying their world. But Hagoromo understood something important. He knew this power was too dangerous to keep as one massive entity. He also knew that keeping the Ten Tails sealed within himself forever wasn't a permanent solution. Hagoromo did something that would define the entire future of the ninja world. He used his incredible abilities to divide the Ten Tails' chakra into 9 separate pieces. Each piece became its own individual creature, with its own personality and consciousness. These became the 9-tailed beasts that everyone knows from Naruto. Shukaku, 1 tail, Matatabi, 2 tails, Isobu, 3 tails, Son Goku, 4 tails, Kokuo, 5 tails, Saiken, 6 tails, Chomei, 7 tails, Gyuki, 8 tails, and Kurama, 9 tails. By dividing the 10 tails this way, Hagoromo prevented anyone from ever wielding that complete, overwhelming power again. After removing the Ten Tails chakra and creating the tailed beasts from it, what remained was the husk of the Ten Tails body. This husk, which would later be called the Gedo statue or demonic statue, was sealed away within the moon alongside Kaguya. His brother Hamura made the decision to travel to the moon as well. Hamura and his descendants would stay there to guard Kaguya's sealed body and make sure the Ten Tails' remains stayed contained. This became their sacred duty, a mission they would carry out for generations. But the process of extracting the Ten Tails from his body took a massive toll on Hagoromo. The extraction left him severely weakened and sick. He was incapacitated for months after the procedure. He knew his time was limited and that he wouldn't live forever. But before he died, Hagoromo wanted to do something meaningful with the chakra he possessed. He had a dream of bringing peace to the world, but he understood he couldn't achieve it in just one lifetime. So once he recovered enough to travel, he journeyed across the land. He went from village to village, region to region, meeting people everywhere, and as he traveled, he gave them something precious. He shared his chakra with them. Hagoromo developed what he called Ninshu, which translates to something like shinobi sect or ninja creed. Ninshu was supposed to be a way to connect people spiritually. The idea was that by sharing chakra, people could understand each other better. They could feel each other's emotions and intentions. They could connect on a deeper level without even needing words. Hagoromo believed this spiritual connection would bring people together and prevent future conflicts. He taught people how to use chakra as a tool for understanding, empathy, and cooperation. Hagoromo also did something important with the 9-tailed beasts he had created. He recognized that these creatures were incredibly powerful and potentially dangerous if mistreated. He traveled to different lands and entrusted each tailed beast to different regions. He asked the people to treat these beings with kindness and respect. He explained that the tailed beasts were not mindless monsters, but intelligent creatures with feelings and personalities. He hoped that by spreading them across the world and asking humans to coexist peacefully with them, he could prevent the beasts from being feared or hunted. His followers began to spread his teachings as well. Hagoromo became known by many names throughout history. People called him the Sage of Six Paths because of his incredible powers and his connection to the divine techniques he used. They called him the God of Shinobi. They called him the savior of the world. His dream was to establish lasting peace through mutual understanding and the spiritual connection that chakra could provide. However, people didn't use chakra the way Hagoromo intended. Instead of using it to connect spiritually with others, people figured out they could combine their spiritual and physical energies together. They learned to knead their chakra and transform it into techniques. They discovered they could use chakra for combat. What started as ninshu, a philosophy of connection and peace, gradually transformed into ninjutsu, the combat techniques that ninjas would later use in battle. This shift happened over time, generation after generation. People weaponized the gift that Hagoromo had given them. They turned his dream of connection into a tool for fighting. This transformation from ninshu to ninjutsu was the beginning of the shinobi system, as it's known in the Naruto series. As more people learned to manipulate chakra, as more techniques were developed and refined, the ninja world began to take shape. Clans formed based on specific chakra abilities and bloodline traits. Villages were eventually established. The profession of being a shinobi became a way of life. Different fighting styles emerged. People created jutsu for attack, defense, healing, and deception. The legacy of this origin story spread throughout history and affected everything that came after. Hagoromo had two sons of his own, Indra and Asura. Indra inherited powerful chakra and incredible natural talent. He was a prodigy who could master techniques instantly. Asura had to work much harder but valued cooperation and friendship. He succeeded through effort and by working together with others. When Hagoromo chose Asura as his successor instead of Indra, it created a rift between the brothers that would last for generations. Indra felt he deserved to inherit their father's legacy because of his superior talent. Asura's selection angered him deeply. This conflict between the brothers began a cycle that would repeat throughout history. Their descendants became the Uchiha and Senju clans, and the rivalry between these clans would shape much of the ninja world's future. The hatred and competition passed down through bloodlines for centuries. This cycle of conflict was something that Hagoromo never wanted but couldn't prevent, even with all his power and wisdom. Even centuries after Hagoromo died, his chakra and spirit somehow remained connected to the world. During the Fourth Shinobi World War, thousands of years after the original events, his spirit appeared to Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha. He gave them each a portion of his power to fight against Kaguya, who had been brought back to life through a complex series of events. Black Zetsu, a creation that Kaguya made from her own will before being sealed, had spent centuries working to revive her. The organization known as the Akatsuki, the collection of the tailed beasts, and the activation of the infinite Tsukuyomi all played roles in bringing Kaguya back. When she returned, the modern ninja world faced the same threat that Hagoromo and Hamura had battled thousands of years earlier. Naruto and Sasuke had to use the power inherited from Hagoromo to seal away Kaguya once again, just like the original brothers did long ago. The battle showed that even after all this time, the original origin of chakra still mattered. The same conflicts, the same powers, and the same struggles continued across generations. Understanding where chakra came from helps explain so much about the Naruto world. The tailed beasts exist because Hagoromo split the Ten Tails chakra into 9 parts. The shinobi system exists because Hagoromo shared chakra with humanity and taught them ninshu, even though it eventually became ninjutsu. The conflicts between clans trace back to disagreements between Hagoromo's sons and their opposing philosophies. Even the visual powers like the Sharingan and Rinnegan connect back to this origin story and the bloodlines that descend from Hagoromo's family. The God Tree, Kaguya, the Ten Tails, Hagoromo, and Hamura are the foundation that everything else in the series builds upon. Without Kaguya eating that forbidden chakra fruit, humans would never have had chakra at all. Without Hagoromo sharing that chakra and teaching ninshu, there would be no ninja arts. The entire world of Naruto, all the jutsu, all the fights, all the ninja villages and their politics, all the conflicts and alliances, everything traces back to decisions made by the Otsutsuki clan. Kaguya's betrayal of Ishiki, her consumption of the chakra fruit, her transformation into the Ten Tails, and her eventual sealing by her own sons set in motion thousands of years of history. Hagoromo's choice to share chakra with the world and split the Ten Tails into the tailed beasts created the conditions for everything that followed. The ninja world exists because of these choices made in ancient times by people with godlike power who shaped the destiny of the entire planet and everyone living on it. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Sage of Six Paths and the Birth of the Tailed Beasts. Sage of Six Paths and the Birth of the Tailed Beasts. After Hagoromo sealed the Ten Tails chakra within himself and became the first Jinchuriki, he faced a serious problem. He couldn't keep this massive amount of power inside him forever. The Ten Tails was too dangerous to exist as one complete entity. If Hagoromo died with all that chakra still sealed inside him, the Ten Tails would break free and rampage across the world again. Everything he and his brother Hamura had fought for would be destroyed. Hagoromo needed a solution that would prevent the Ten Tails from ever being whole again, while also making sure its power wouldn't be lost or misused. What he came up with changed the entire structure of the world. Hagoromo decided to split the Ten Tails' chakra apart. He used an ability called Creation of All Things, a technique that could create form from nothing and breathe life into that form. This power came from his mastery of both Yin Release and Yang Release. Yin Release dealt with imagination and spiritual energy, while Yang Release dealt with vitality and physical energy. By combining these two forces, Hagoromo could literally create living beings out of pure chakra. He took the Ten Tails chakra and divided it into 9 separate pieces. But he didn't just split the energy randomly. He used Creation of All Things to transform each piece into an actual living creature with its own body, its own consciousness, and its own personality. These 9 creatures became known as the Tailed Beasts. Each one had a different number of tails, ranging from 1 to 9, which is how they got their collective name. The process of extracting all this chakra from his body and creating 9 separate living beings took everything Hagoromo had. The moment he finished creating the last tailed beast, his body gave out. He was left completely weakened and incapacitated. For several months after creating the tailed beasts, Hagoromo was bedridden and unable to move. His body was so damaged from the extraction that he should have died immediately. The only reason he survived at all was because the husk of the Ten Tails, the empty shell left behind after all the chakra was removed, still contained a powerful life force. This life force kept Hagoromo alive, even though his body was destroyed by what he had done. He spent months recovering, barely clinging to life, but he survived long enough to do what he needed to do next. The 9-tailed beasts that Hagoromo created were like newborn children when they first came into existence. They had no memories of being part of the Ten Tails. They woke up in these new bodies without understanding where they came from or what they were. Each one manifested with a unique shape and appearance. Some looked like traditional animals, while others were more fantastical. They all resembled beasts of some kind, and they all had tails, which became their defining characteristic. The way the chakra expressed itself in each creature was unpredictable. Each tailed beast ended up with different abilities and different levels of power. Hagoromo personally named each one as they awakened. The one tail was named Shukaku and took the form of a tanuki, a raccoon dog. The 2 tails was named Matatabi and appeared as a flaming cat. The 3 tails was named Isobu and looked like a turtle with a hard shell. The 4 tails was named Son Goku, taking the form of a powerful ape. The 5 tails was named Kokuo and resembled a horse with dolphin features. The 6 tails was named Saiken and appeared as a slug. The 7 tails was named Chome, looking like a rhinoceros beetle that could fly. The 8 tails was named Gyuki and took the form of an ox with tentacles. Finally, the 9 tails was named Kurama and appeared as a massive fox with 9 tails. After he had recovered enough strength, Hagoromo took on the responsibility of raising these 9-tailed beasts. He treated them like his own children. He taught them about the world they now lived in. He explained where they had come from and how they were created from the Ten Tails. He told them about their connection to each other, explaining that even though they were now separate beings, they were all still linked together because they came from the same source. Hagoromo spent time with each beast, helping them understand their powers and their purpose. He believed that since they were born from the planet itself, from the chakra of the God Tree that had absorbed Earth's natural energy, they should become guardians of the world. He envisioned them as examples of the world's greatest wonders, powerful beings that could protect and inspire humanity. During this time, Hagoromo made a prophecy about the tailed beasts' future. He told them that one day, they would be brought together again, though not in the same form they had been before. They wouldn't merge back into the Ten Tails, but they would reunite in some other way. At that time, Hagoromo said, a person would appear who would show them what true power really was. This person wouldn't just be strong in terms of raw chakra or fighting ability. They would demonstrate a different kind of power, one based on understanding, connection, and cooperation. The tailed beasts remembered these words throughout the centuries that followed, waiting for this prophesied person to eventually appear. As the tailed beasts grew, they reached the peak of their physical development and power. They became titans, creatures so massive and powerful that they dwarfed everything else in the world. No other beings could match their strength. Among them, Kurama the Nine-Tails was the strongest. He possessed the greatest share of the Ten-Tails' power because he was created last and contained the most chakra. This fact led to a widespread belief that the number of tails a beast had directly corresponded to how powerful it was. Even Kurama believed this to be true, partly because he actually was the strongest and he did have the most tails. However, the reality was more complicated. The division of power wasn't perfectly linear based on tail count. Some beasts with fewer tails had unique abilities that made them extremely dangerous in their own ways. Unfortunately, as the tailed beasts grew stronger, they also became proud and sometimes violent. Their immense power made them reshape the land wherever they traveled. They would fight against any humans or animals brave enough or foolish enough to challenge them. They even fought with each other, engaging in battles that caused massive destruction to the surrounding environment. They were like natural disasters, forces of nature that only wanted to express their strength and prove they were superior to everything else. The true story of their origins, the fact that they were created by Hagoromo to be guardians and helpers, was gradually forgotten by humanity. People began to fear and hate the tailed beasts. They saw them as malevolent monsters, mindless creatures that only brought destruction. The beasts were hunted, attacked, and treated as enemies rather than the protectors Hagoromo had intended them to be. After Hagoromo finished creating the tailed beasts and recovered from the extraction, he still had to deal with the empty husk of the Ten Tails. This shell, which would later be called the Ghetto Statue or the Demonic Statue of the Outer Path, still contained some power even though all the chakra had been removed. Hagoromo used a technique called Chibaku Tensei to seal this husk. The technique formed a massive sphere of earth and rock around the husk, lifting it high into the sky. This sealed husk became part of the moon, or in some accounts, it was sealed inside the moon, where Kaguya herself was imprisoned. Hagoromo's brother Hamura went to the moon to guard both their mother's sealed body and the Ten Tails husk, making sure neither would ever threaten the world again. Now, we need to talk about what happened with Hagoromo's own children. As Hagoromo traveled the world, spreading chakra and teaching ninshu, he eventually married and had 2 sons. The older son was named Indra, and the younger son was named Asura. These 2 brothers would become just as important to the world's future as the tailed beasts. From an early age, Indra and Asura were completely different from each other. Indra was a prodigy, a natural genius who inherited incredible power from his father. He learned techniques instantly. He could do things without any effort that would take others years of training to accomplish. Indra possessed powerful visual abilities, and in some accounts, he even awakened the Sharingan and eventually, the Mangekyo Sharingan. He could use a massive defensive construct called Susanoo that towered over the landscape. Indra was so naturally talented that he began to rely entirely on his own power. He became solitary, preferring to handle problems by himself rather than asking others for help. What nobody realized at the time was that Black Zetsu, the creation Kaguya had made before being sealed, was subtly manipulating Indra's thoughts and encouraging his isolation. Asura was the complete opposite of his brother. He showed no special abilities when he was young. He had no natural talent. Everything Asura accomplished required tremendous effort and hard work. He failed constantly, but he never gave up. Instead of relying on his own power like Indra did, Asura learned to rely on others. He made friends easily. He worked together with people to solve problems. Where Indra would handle challenges alone using his superior strength, Asura would gather people together and find solutions through cooperation. Over time, this approach made Asura stronger. His struggles and his willingness to depend on others caused him to grow in ways that pure talent never could. He developed a power of his own that came from bonds and connections rather than individual strength. Hagoromo watched both his sons grow, trying to decide which one should inherit his legacy and continue spreading ninshu after he died. He knew his time was limited. The damage from extracting the tailed beasts and his advanced age meant he wouldn't live much longer. He needed to choose a successor who would carry on his dream of achieving peace through understanding and connection. To test his sons, Hagoromo sent each of them on a different mission. The land was still recovering from the devastation caused by the battle against Kaguya years earlier. There were regions that needed help, communities that were struggling. Hagoromo sent Indra and Asura to different locations and told them to help these struggling lands recover. Indra returned very quickly after completing his mission. He had used his incredible power to solve the problems he encountered swiftly and efficiently. Asura, on the other hand, took much longer to return. Hagoromo decided to wait for his younger son before making his decision about succession. While waiting, he learned more about how each son had accomplished their mission. A toad sage named Gamamaru told Hagoromo about the methods each brother had used. Indra had indeed solved the problems quickly, but he had done everything himself using force and power. He hadn't really connected with the people he was helping. Asura had taken longer because he didn't have Indra's raw power. Instead, he had worked alongside the people, asking for their help, cooperating with them, learning from them, and building relationships. The villagers had helped Asura accomplish the mission, and in the process, they had all grown stronger together. This convinced Hagoromo to make his choice. When Asura finally returned, Hagoromo announced that Asura would be his successor. He believed that Asura's philosophy of love, cooperation, and connection was the true path to peace. Indra's method of using power and handling everything alone might be faster and more efficient, but it didn't create the bonds between people that would lead to lasting peace. Hagoromo wanted the world to adopt Asura's way of thinking rather than Indra's. This decision shattered Indra. He believed he deserved to be their father's heir. He was the older brother. He was the one with superior talent and power. He had completed his mission faster and more effectively. In his mind, there was no logical reason why Asura should be chosen over him. The decision felt like a betrayal and an insult. Indra's jealousy and anger grew into full hatred. Indra left his family and went his own way. He began to develop something new. Where Hagoromo had taught Ninshu, a philosophy of using chakra to connect people spiritually, Indra created something different. He figured out how to use chakra for combat. He developed techniques specifically designed for fighting. This became the foundation of what would later be called ninjutsu, the ninja techniques based on combat applications of chakra. Indra is credited as the inventor of ninjutsu, though this fact became forgotten over time, and many people incorrectly believed Hagoromo had created it. Indra gathered followers who shared his beliefs about power and strength. He formed a sect that supported his new combat-focused way of using chakra. As Hagoromo lay on his deathbed, nearing the end of his life, Indra came to see his father one final time. The meeting was not a reconciliation. Indra boldly told Hagoromo that his approach to peace was cowardly and would only bring about greater wars. Indra vowed to destroy Ninshu and everything his father had built. Then Indra said something even more disturbing. He promised that he would continue this mission across multiple lifetimes if necessary. He would reincarnate again and again to undo his father's work and prove that his own philosophy of power was correct. After his father died, Indra declared war on Asura to reclaim what he believed was his rightful position as successor. The two brothers fought. Asura manifested powers he had inherited from Hagoromo, including the ability to use wood release, a combination of earth and water chakra that could create and control plant life. He combined this with Six Paths Senjutsu, the same kind of power their father possessed. With the help of his friends and followers who shared their chakra with him, Asura was able to defeat Indra, but Indra refused to acknowledge his brother's strength or his father's wisdom. He was forced to retreat, but his hatred remained. Before Asura died, he made a vow of his own. He knew that Indra would reincarnate to continue their fight. Asura promised to reincarnate as well, not because he wanted to fight his brother, but because he hoped that eventually, through these reincarnations, they might find a way to reconcile. He wanted to end the feud permanently and prove that love and cooperation were truly superior to hatred and power. This created a cycle that would last for centuries. When Indra and Asura died, their chakra and their wills didn't disappear. Instead, they were reborn in new people. This reincarnation cycle specifically affected their descendants. Indra's children and their descendants became the Uchiha clan, a family known for their powerful visual abilities and their emphasis on individual strength. Asura's children split into two groups. Some became the Senju clan, known for their physical strength and vitality. Others became the Uzumaki clan, known for their massive chakra reserves and longevity. Neither the Uchiha nor the Senju knew the true origin of their hatred for each other. They just knew that these clans had been enemies for as long as anyone could remember. Throughout history, Indra's chakra would occasionally reincarnate into an Uchiha, and Asura's chakra would reincarnate into a Senju or Uzumaki. These reincarnations would inherit not just chakra, but also the will and the conflicts of the original brothers. The reincarnation cycle didn't restart until both current reincarnates had died. During the Warring States period, hundreds of years after the original brothers died, Indra reincarnated as Madara, Uchiha, and Asura reincarnated as Hashirama Senju. These two men became legendary figures in their own right. They started as friends who shared a dream of peace, but eventually, they became bitter enemies. Black Zetsu manipulated Madara, pushing him toward darkness and encouraging him to fight Hashirama. Despite briefly working together to create the hidden village of Konohagakure, Madara eventually defected and resumed the ancient conflict. He and Hashirama fought their final battle at a place called the Valley of the End, where Madara was defeated. Before dying, Madara stole some of Hashirama's DNA and implanted it into his wounds. This allowed Indra's chakra within Madara to merge with a portion of Asura's chakra from Hashirama's cells. This combination eventually led to Madara awakening the Rinnegan, fulfilling something Hagoromo had warned against. After Madara's second and final death decades later, the cycle resumed once more. This time, Indra's chakra reincarnated into Sasuke Uchiha, and Asura's chakra reincarnated into Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto was descended from Asura through the Uzumaki clan, though he didn't know this for most of his life. These two were the first reincarnations to be born into an era of relative peace rather than constant war. They started as rivals at the Ninja Academy, became teammates, and developed a complicated relationship that mixed friendship with competition. For a while, they maintained a civil rivalry. But eventually, Sasuke fell victim to what's called the Curse of Hatred, a pattern affecting the Uchiha clan where loss and trauma would turn into overwhelming hatred and a desire for revenge. Sasuke left the village and turned against his former friends. During the Fourth Shinobi World War, when Kaguya was revived and the world faced destruction, Hagoromo's spirit appeared before Naruto and Sasuke. He explained their connection to Indra and Asura. He told them about the cycle of reincarnation that had plagued his son's descendants for centuries. Hagoromo admitted that choosing only Asura as his successor had been a mistake. By ignoring Indra and focusing all his trust on one son, he had created the conditions for their eternal conflict. This time, Hagoromo decided to do things differently. He divided his power evenly between Naruto and Sasuke. He gave them each half of his strength, ensuring he didn't repeat the mistake of favoring just one. This allowed Naruto to awaken Six Paths Sage Mode and gave Sasuke the Rinnegan. With these powers, they were able to fight Kaguya and eventually seal her away again. But even after the war ended, Sasuke and Naruto still had to settle things between themselves. They fought one final battle, not as reincarnations forced to repeat an ancient conflict, but as individuals making their own choices about who they wanted to be. Naruto managed to accomplish something that all previous reincarnations had failed to do. He actually ended the rift between the two lines of reincarnated brothers. After their final fight, Sasuke finally accepted Naruto's ideals. He acknowledged that cooperation and bonds were not weakness but strength. He let go of the hatred that had consumed him. This reconciliation between Sasuke and Naruto broke the cycle. The curse of hatred that had plagued Indra's descendants for generations was finally overcome. The reincarnation cycle itself presumably ended, as both Naruto and Sasuke had fulfilled what Asura had hoped for all along, a peaceful resolution that proved love and cooperation were superior to isolation and hatred. The feud that started with Hagoromo choosing one son over another, that continued through Madara and Hashirama, finally came to an end, with Naruto and Sasuke choosing to understand each other rather than destroy each other. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to how the Rinnegan actually awakens. How the Rinnegan actually awakens. The Rinnegan is considered the most powerful eye technique in the entire Naruto world. It stands above even the Sharingan and the Byakugan as the ultimate visual ability. The name means something like Sasara Eye, and it's tied directly to the legend of the Sage of Six Paths. For centuries, the Rinnegan was believed to be nothing more than a myth. People told stories about it, but nobody actually thought it still existed in the modern world. The technique had disappeared after Hagoromo died, and the knowledge of how to awaken it was lost to history. But the Rinnegan did return, and understanding how it awakened reveals one of the most important secrets in the entire series. The key to awakening the Rinnegan lies in combining two specific types of chakra. Remember how Hagoromo had two sons, Indra and Asura, whose conflict shaped the ninja world for generations? Those two brothers each inherited different aspects of their father's power. Indra received the sage's powerful chakra and his visual abilities, which developed into the Sharingan. Asura received the sage's physical energy and vitality. When these two types of chakra combine in one person, when Indra's power and Asura's power unite, they recreate Hagoromo's original chakra. And when that happens, the Rinnegan can awaken. This means that someone needs to possess both Uchiha heritage, which comes from Indra, and Senju heritage, which comes from Asura. Getting these two bloodlines to merge is incredibly difficult and rare. Throughout all of history, only one person managed to figure this out and actually do it: Madara Uchiha. Madara was always obsessed with power, even though he was already one of the strongest shinobi who ever lived. Blessed with incredible natural talent and the Mangekyo Sharingan, he wanted more. He wanted to surpass everyone. He wanted to become truly invincible. Madara studied the history of the ninja world extensively. He learned about the Sage of Six Paths. He discovered ancient texts and information that had been passed down through the Uchiha clan. There was a stone tablet at the Uchiha shrine that contained secret information that could only be read by those who possessed advanced visual abilities. The more powerful your eyes were, the more of the tablet you could decipher. Someone with a regular Sharingan could read only a little. Someone with a Mangekyo Sharingan could read more. And someone with a Rinnegan could read everything. What Madara didn't know was that Black Zetsu, the being created by Kaguya before she was sealed, had altered parts of this tablet centuries ago. Black Zetsu had been manipulating the Uchiha clan for generations, subtly pushing them towards specific goals that would eventually lead to Kaguya's resurrection. From studying the tablet and piecing together historical knowledge, Madara understood that the Sage of Six Paths had divided his power between his two sons. He realized that if someone could combine Indra's chakra and Asura's chakra, they could awaken the Rinnegan and gain power similar to the sage himself. Madara already possessed Indra's chakra because he was both an Uchiha and, more specifically, a reincarnation of Indra. What he needed was Asura's chakra. And there was only one person alive during Madara's time who carried that chakra: Hashirama Senju. Hashirama was Asura's reincarnation during that generation. He possessed incredible life force, amazing healing abilities, and the unique wood release technique that nobody else could replicate. His cells contained exactly what Madara needed. Madara and Hashirama had a complicated history. They were friends as children, both dreaming of peace. They eventually founded the Hidden Leaf Village together, creating the first ninja village and establishing a new era, but their friendship fell apart. Madara felt betrayed when Hashirama was chosen as the first Hokage instead of him. Madara saw dangers and problems that Hashirama refused to acknowledge. Eventually, Madara left the village he helped create. Years later, Madara and Hashirama fought their final battle at a location called the Valley of the End. It was an epic confrontation between two of the most powerful shinobi who ever lived. Hashirama won that battle. Madara appeared to die, but Madara had planned ahead. During the fight, Madara had secretly taken a piece of Hashirama's flesh. He bit off a chunk of Hashirama's body and kept it. Everyone thought Madara died at the Valley of the End, but he survived. He went into hiding in an underground location where nobody could find him. Once hidden away, Madara implanted Hashirama's cells into his own body. He merged the stolen Senju DNA with his own Uchiha genetics. This combination meant that Indra's chakra, which Madara already possessed, would eventually mix with Asura's chakra from Hashirama's cells. But the process wasn't instant. Madara had to wait. And wait. And wait some more. Decades passed while the two types of chakra slowly merged within Madara's body. During this time, Madara was attended by Black Zetsu, who encouraged him and provided guidance, all while secretly manipulating events to serve Kaguya's eventual return. Madara grew old. His body weakened. He became frail and elderly. He connected himself to the demonic statue of the Outer Path, the husk of the Ten Tails that had been sealed in the moon, to extend his life artificially. This statue's life force kept Madara alive even as his body deteriorated. Finally, and Madara was near the very end of his natural lifespan, the Rinnegan awakened. His Sharingan transformed into the legendary Rinnegan. The ripple pattern replaced the Tomoe of the Sharingan in both of his eyes. Madara had succeeded. He had become only the second human in history, after Hagoromo himself, to possess the Rinnegan. But there was a problem. Madara's body was too old and damaged. He was barely alive, sustained only by the demonic statue. He couldn't use the Rinnegan properly in his current condition. He couldn't move around. He couldn't fight. He couldn't execute his plans. He needed to preserve this power somehow. He needed someone else to hold the Rinnegan temporarily, while he worked on being revived in a younger, stronger body. This is where Nagato enters the picture. Madara needed to find the perfect vessel for his Rinnegan. The eyes couldn't just go to anyone. The Rinnegan contained enormous power and absorbed chakra passively. An ordinary person who received the Rinnegan would be overwhelmed. Their chakra would be drained constantly just from having the eyes. They would likely die or lose themselves to the power. Madara needed someone with massive chakra reserves, someone whose body could handle the burden of the Rinnegan without collapsing. He found the answer in the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumaki were descendants of Asura, just like the Senju. They were distantly related to the Senju clan and shared similar traits. Uzumaki clan members possessed incredibly large chakra reserves naturally. They had longer lifespans than normal people. They had greater physical durability. Their bodies could heal and recover faster than others. These characteristics made them ideal candidates for bearing the Rinnegan. Madara selected a specific child from the Uzumaki clan who lived in the Hidden Rain village. This child's name was Nagato. Nagato came from a branch family of Uzumaki who had settled in Amegakure instead of living in their traditional homeland. When Nagato was very young, just a baby, Madara secretly transplanted both of his Rinnegan into the child. Nagato didn't know this happened. His parents didn't know, nobody knew. As far as everyone was concerned, including Nagato himself for many years, he had simply been born with the Rinnegan. Madara's plan was straightforward. Nagato would hold the Rinnegan safely. He would grow up with these eyes. Eventually, when the time was right, Nagato would use a specific Rinnegan technique called Rinne Rebirth to resurrect Madara in a new, powerful body. Then Madara could reclaim his eyes and use them to achieve his ultimate goals. But life for Nagato didn't go as peacefully as Madara might have hoped. During the Second Shinobi World War, Nagato's home region became a battlefield. Two Konoha shinobi broke into Nagato's house looking for food. Nagato's parents tried to sneak their family out quietly, but they were discovered. The Konoha ninja, thinking the family might be enemy combatants, attacked and killed both of Nagato's parents right in front of him. The trauma of watching his parents die activated Nagato's Rinnegan for the first time. In his grief and rage, Nagato unknowingly used the Rinnegan's power to kill both ninja. After this tragedy, Nagato became a war orphan. He wandered until he met two other orphans named Yahiko and Konan. The three of them became inseparable friends, trying to survive together in a war-torn world. Eventually, these three children encountered Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin from the Hidden Leaf Village. Jiraiya was shocked when he saw Nagato's eyes. He believed Nagato might be the reincarnation of the Sage of Six Paths, or at least someone special destined to change the world. Jiraiya decided to stay in the Hidden Rain village for several years to train these three orphans. He taught them ninjutsu, combat techniques, and the philosophy behind being a shinobi. Under Jiraiya's guidance, Nagato's abilities grew tremendously. The Rinnegan gave Nagato an incredible learning capability. He could master techniques after seeing them only once or twice. He learned all 5 basic nature transformations. He absorbed knowledge at an astonishing rate. Nagato, Yahiko, and Konan eventually formed an organization called the Akatsuki. Their original goal was pure and noble. They wanted to bring peace to the Hidden Rain village and eventually to the entire world, but they wanted to achieve it through understanding and cooperation rather than violence. Unfortunately, their idealistic goals made them enemies. The ruler of the Hidden Rain village, a man named Hanzo, saw the Akatsuki as a threat to his power. Hanzo worked together with Danzo from the Hidden Leaf Village to destroy the Akatsuki. They set up an ambush. They captured Konan and forced Yahiko and Nagato to make an impossible choice. During this confrontation, Yahiko sacrificed himself to save Nagato and Konan. Yahiko died in Nagato's arms. The loss of his best friend broke something inside Nagato. He awakened a power he didn't know he possessed, summoning the demonic statue of the Outer Path. This statue killed Hanzo's forces, but the summoning severely damaged Nagato's legs. He could no longer walk properly. His body was weakened. After this battle, another figure approached Nagato, a man wearing an orange mask, who called himself Tobi, but who was actually Obito Uchiha. Obito had been manipulated by Madara before Madara died. Now, Obito carried on Madara's plans. Obito helped reshape the Akatsuki into something darker. Instead of seeking peace through understanding, the new Akatsuki would seek peace through fear and control. Because Nagato could no longer move easily or fight directly, he developed a technique that would become infamous. Using black receivers, special rods made from his chakra, Nagato could control corpses remotely. He embedded these receivers into dead bodies and channeled his chakra through them from a distance. This allowed him to control the corpses as if they were his own body. He could see through their eyes. He could speak through their mouths. He could use his techniques through them. Nagato created 6 of these corpse bodies, and each one was given access to one branch of the 6 Paths technique, the special abilities that the Rinnegan granted. Collectively, these 6 bodies were known as the 6 Paths of Pain. To the outside world, Pain appeared to be one person, or perhaps 6 related individuals. Almost nobody knew that Pain was actually controlled by Nagato from a hidden location. The first and most important body Nagato used was his dead friend Yahiko. Out of respect and love for Yahiko, Nagato made Yahiko's corpse the leader body. This became known as the Deva Path, and it was the face of pain that most people saw. The Deva Path could manipulate attractive and repulsive forces, essentially controlling gravity. It could pull things toward itself or push things away with devastating power. This ability could be used on a massive scale, capable of destroying entire villages. The second body was called the Asura Path. This corpse could augment itself with mechanical parts, growing extra arms, generating weapons from its body, and launching missiles. It became a living war machine. The third was the Human Path, which could read minds by grabbing someone's head and could also extract souls, killing the victim instantly. The fourth was the Animal Path, which could summon various powerful creatures to fight. All the summoned creatures also shared the Rinnegan's vision, giving Nagato even more ways to see the battlefield. The fifth was the Preta Path, which could absorb any chakra-based technique and neutralize ninjutsu. The sixth was the Naraka Path, which could summon something called the King of Hell, a creature that could interrogate people to determine if they were lying and could also repair damaged pain bodies. Together, these 6 paths of pain were nearly unstoppable. Nagato could coordinate all 6 bodies simultaneously. They shared vision, meaning what one saw, all of them saw, including Nagato himself. They could cover each other's weaknesses. An opponent who figured out how to defeat one path would immediately be countered by another. Pain became the leader of the Akatsuki and one of the most feared figures in the ninja world. Pain's reputation grew until he decided to attack the Hidden Leaf Village directly. His goal was to capture Naruto, because Naruto contained the 9 tails. During this attack, Pain fought against many powerful leaf ninja. He defeated Kakashi. He destroyed most of the village with a single massive gravitational technique. He seemed invincible, but Naruto Uzumaki, having trained in Sage Mode and with the help of the toads of Mount Myoboku, managed to fight back effectively. Naruto defeated each of the 6 paths of pain one by one, using clever tactics and his growing strength. After defeating all 6 bodies, Naruto tracked Nagato back to his real location. He found the real Nagato, a frail man with red hair, emaciated and unable to walk, connected to a mechanical device that helped him move. Naruto confronted Nagato, not with more violence but with words. He spoke about their shared teacher Jiraiya. He spoke about the cycle of hatred. He spoke about his own pain and loss. Nagato, moved by Naruto's determination and his refusal to give up on the dream of real peace, realized that Naruto might be the person who could actually achieve what Nagato had failed to accomplish. In his final act, Nagato used the Rinnegan's outer path ability called Rinne Rebirth. This technique could revive the dead, but it cost the user their own life. Nagato used it to bring back all the people from the Hidden Leaf village who had died during Pain's attack. As Nagato died, he told Naruto that he believed in him. He entrusted the future to Naruto. After Nagato's death, Obito arrived and took Nagato's eyes. He implanted one Rinnegan into himself and kept the other preserved for when Madara would eventually be revived. The story of how the Rinnegan awakens reveals something important about the nature of power in the Naruto world. True strength comes from combining different elements, not from isolation. Madara achieved the Rinnegan by combining Uchiha and Senju power, but he used it for selfish goals. Nagato received the Rinnegan through Madara's manipulation, and he used it to spread pain and fear, believing that was the only path to peace. But in the end, it was Naruto, who didn't have the Rinnegan, but who had something more important: connections with others and an unwavering belief in understanding, who proved that there were better ways to achieve peace. The Rinnegan represents the ultimate evolution of power, the recreation of the Sage of Six Paths abilities. But power alone was never the answer. The cycle started by Indra and Asura. The conflict between those who relied on their own strength versus those who worked together with others couldn't be solved by simply awakening legendary eyes. It required someone to truly understand both sides and choose a different path entirely. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have the Uzumaki clan's hidden advantages. The Uzumaki clan's hidden advantages. The Uzumaki clan were distant relatives of the Senju clan. Both groups descended from the same ancient bloodline. They shared a common ancestor named Asura Otsutsuki, one of the two sons of the Sage of Six Paths. This family connection created a bond between the Uzumaki and the Senju that lasted for generations. The two clans stayed close through the years. They often married members from each other's families to strengthen their ties. The Uzumaki clan came from a place called Uzu Shiogakure. This village was also known as the village hidden by whirling tides. It sat in the land of whirlpools. The village earned a nickname because of how long its people lived. Everyone called it the Village of Longevity. The buildings in Uzu Shiogakure were tall structures that rose high into the sky. A wide river ran through the middle of the village. Large bridges crossed over the water to connect different parts of the settlement. Steep hills surrounded the area, creating natural protection around the village. Members of the Uzumaki clan had certain features that made them easy to recognize. Most of them had bright red hair. This red hair became the trademark of the clan. When people saw someone with that distinctive red color, they often knew right away that person came from the Uzumaki bloodline. But the most important traits of the Uzumaki went deeper than just their appearance. They possessed incredibly strong life forces. Their bodies contained massive amounts of chakra, more than most normal people could ever have. This special chakra gave them abilities that made them different from everyone else. The Uzumaki clan became famous throughout the entire world for one particular skill. They were masters of sealing techniques, called Fuin Jutsu in the language of shinobi. Sealing jutsu allowed users to lock away dangerous things, trap powerful enemies, or contain massive amounts of energy. The Uzumaki developed these techniques over many generations. They passed down their knowledge from parent to child, teacher to student, year after year. Their sealing methods became so advanced that no other clan could match them. Other villages and other clans tried to learn these secrets, but the Uzumaki techniques remained the most powerful. One of their most famous sealing techniques was called the adamantine sealing chains. This jutsu allowed certain Uzumaki members to create chains made out of pure chakra. The chains would emerge from the user's body, usually from their torso. The person using this technique could control these chains like extra limbs, moving them around to grab things or restrain enemies. These chains were incredibly strong. Even tailed beasts, the most powerful creatures in the world, could be held down by these chains. The chains had another special property. They could seal away or neutralize the chakra of whatever they touched. When the chains wrapped around a target, that target lost access to their own chakra. This made the adamantine sealing chains perfect for controlling tailed beasts or stopping dangerous enemies. The technique could do even more than just restrain. When two or more chains connected together, they formed a barrier. This barrier was so strong that almost nothing could break through it. Even powerful shinobi like the third Hokage admitted there was nothing anyone could do to get past a barrier made from these chains. Inside their own minds, Uzumaki Jinchuriki could use these chains to pin down the tailed beast sealed within them. The chains would pierce into the beast and hold it in place, keeping it from taking control. Only a few Uzumaki members ever displayed the ability to use the adamantine sealing chains. The most famous user was a woman named Kushina Uzumaki. Later, another Uzumaki named Karin awakened a version of this technique during a Great War. Her version was less refined than Kushina's, but it still showed incredible power. The strong life force of the Uzumaki gave them benefits beyond just large chakra reserves. They lived much longer than normal people. While most shinobi died young in battle or lived to maybe 60 or 70 years if they were lucky, Uzumaki clan members could live well past 100 years. They aged much more slowly than other people. An Uzumaki who was 70 years old might look like they were only 50. An Uzumaki who was 90 might still have color in their hair when other people their age had turned completely gray. This long life came from the same powerful vitality that gave them so much chakra. Their strong life force also meant they could survive terrible injuries that would kill normal people. If an Uzumaki got hurt badly, their body would heal faster than others. They could recover from wounds that should have been fatal. They could keep fighting even after taking damage that would make other shinobi collapse. This resilience extended to one of the most dangerous things that could happen to a Jinchuriki. When a tailed beast gets extracted from a Jinchuriki's body, the Jinchuriki almost always dies immediately. The process of ripping the beast out kills the host. But Uzumaki clan members could survive this extraction, at least for a little while. They would be left terribly weakened, barely clinging to life, but they would not die right away like others would. This durability made them perfect candidates to become Jinchuriki in the first place. The Senju clan founded Konohagakure, the Hidden Leaf Village, together with the Uchiha clan. When Konohagakure was created at the end of a period called the Warring States period, the Senju wanted to honor their friendship with the Uzumaki. They chose a special way to show this bond. The Senju decided to put the Uzumaki clan's symbol on the uniforms of Konoha shinobi. The Uzumaki symbol was a red spiral that looked like a whirlpool. This spiral appeared on the flak jackets that Chunin and Jonin wore. It appeared on the shoulders of their uniforms. Every time a Konoha shinobi put on their gear, they wore the mark of the Uzumaki clan. This showed everyone that Konohagakure and Uzushiogakure were allies. It showed that the Senju remembered their relatives and honored them. After the symbol was added to the uniforms, the two villages remained close allies for many decades. Whenever Konoha needed help with sealing jutsu, the Uzumaki would provide their services. If Konoha had a dangerous technique they needed to seal away, they would ask the Uzumaki for assistance. If they captured an enemy with power that needed to be contained, the Uzumaki would come help. The partnership between the villages was strong and reliable. The Uzumaki even constructed temples near Konoha. One of these was called the Uzumaki clan's Mask Storage Temple. It was built on the outskirts of Konoha. These temples stored important masks and sealing tools. The fact that these structures existed so close to Konoha showed how much the two villages trusted each other. But the skill that made the Uzumaki so valuable also made them feared. Other nations and other villages looked at Uzushiogakure and felt threatened. The Uzumaki could seal away almost anything. They could trap tailed beasts, they could lock away dangerous jutsu, they could contain powers that other villages wanted to use. Some leaders in other nations began to think that the Uzumaki were too powerful to be allowed to exist. They worried that if the Uzumaki ever decided to use their abilities against them, there would be no defense. Fear slowly turned into a decision. Multiple nations decided that Uzushiogakure had to be destroyed. Several villages joined forces to attack Uzushiogakure. These included villages from powerful nations. They came together with one goal: to wipe out the Uzumaki clan's village before it could become an even greater threat. The attack came during a time of war and unrest in the shinobi world. The Uzumaki fought back fiercely when the enemy forces arrived. They used their sealing techniques to defend their home. They used their massive chakra reserves to keep fighting long after normal shinobi would have run out of energy. They used their resilience to survive attacks and keep standing. The Uzumaki managed to inflict heavy casualties on the attackers. They killed large numbers of enemy shinobi. They made the invaders pay dearly for every bit of ground they took. But numbers eventually overwhelmed skill. The combined forces of multiple nations were too much for one village to hold back forever. Even with all their power, even with all their sealing techniques, even with their incredible vitality, the Uzumaki could not stop the invasion. Uzushiogakure fell. The village was destroyed. The buildings that had stood for so long were torn down. The bridges that crossed the river were broken. The home of the Uzumaki clan was turned into ruins. Many members of the clan died in the attack. They fought to protect their home until the very end. The attackers wanted to make sure the Uzumaki would never be a threat again, so they killed as many as they could find. The survivors who managed to escape the destruction scattered across the world. They went into hiding. They fled to different nations, different villages, anywhere they could find safety. Some of them never revealed their true identities again, afraid that enemies might hunt them down if they knew an Uzumaki still lived. The clan that had once been powerful and united was now broken and spread thin across the entire world. Each survivor carried with them the knowledge of their clan, but they had no village to return to. They had no homeland. They were refugees from a destroyed nation, alone in a world that had feared them enough to wipe them out. Several Uzumaki survivors appeared in different places after Uzushiogakure fell. A boy named Nagato ended up in Amagakure, the Hidden Rain village. He grew up on the outskirts of that village with his parents. A woman named Karin lived in Kusagakure for a time. Another survivor named Kushina ended up in Konohagakure. These scattered members of the clan tried to build new lives in new places, far from the ruins of their home. None of them had the chance to grow up surrounded by other Uzumaki. None of them had the full teachings of their clan passed down to them in the traditional way. They had to survive alone, or with only fragments of their heritage. Before Uzushiogakure was destroyed, a young Uzumaki girl named Kushina was brought to Konohagakure. The Hidden Leaf village needed her for a specific purpose. At the time, an Uzumaki woman named Mito Uzumaki lived in Konoha. Mito was very important. She was married to Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage who founded the village. But more than that, Mito was the first Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. After a battle between Hashirama and a man named Madara Uchiha, the Nine Tails ended up without a host. Mito sealed the beast inside herself to prevent it from rampaging and destroying everything. She became the first person to carry the Nine Tails within her body. Years passed. Decades passed. Mito grew older. Even with the long life of an Uzumaki, even with her incredible vitality, she knew she would eventually die. The Nine Tails could not be allowed to run free when she passed away. Konoha needed a new Jinchuriki ready to receive the beast before Mito's death. The village leaders looked for someone who could survive becoming a Jinchuriki. They needed someone with a strong enough life force to contain the Nine Tails. They needed someone whose body could handle the immense chakra of a tailed beast. They needed someone from the Uzumaki clan. Kushina was chosen for this role. She was brought from Uzushiogakure to Konohagakure specifically to become the next Nine Tails Jinchuriki. When she arrived, she was told why she had to leave her home. She learned that because of her special chakra, because of her Uzumaki blood, she would be the next vessel for the nine-tailed demon fox. This was a heavy burden to place on a young girl. Kushina had to leave everything she knew to become the container for the most powerful tailed beast in the world. Before the transfer happened, Mito gave Kushina important advice. She told the young girl that love was the only way to tame the Nine Tails and overcome its hate. Without love, the beast would overwhelm the Jinchuriki with negative emotions. Without love, the beast would take control. But if the Jinchuriki filled their heart with love, they could resist the Nine Tails and keep it sealed. Kushina grew up in Konoha after arriving from Uzushiogakure. She attended the ninja academy with other children her age. She wanted to make a strong first impression on her new classmates. She stood up in front of the class and proclaimed that she would become the first female Hokage. The other kids laughed at her. They thought her dream was silly. They also made fun of her appearance. Kushina's face was round, and her red hair was very bright. The other children started calling her Tomato because of her round face and red color. This nickname made Kushina angry. She lashed out at the kids who teased her. She would pummel anyone who called her names. Her red hair would fly wildly around her as she fought, which only made the teasing worse. The kids gave her a new nickname. They called her the Red Hot-Blooded Habanero. One person did not laugh at Kushina or make fun of her. A boy named Minato Namikaze saw something different in her. He saw her strength. He saw her determination. He saw the real person beneath the red hair and the fierce temper. Over time, Minato and Kushina became close. Minato would protect Kushina when others bothered her. He would stand up for her. He would comfort her when she felt alone. Eventually, they fell in love. They got married. Minato became the 4th Hokage of Konohagakure. Kushina remained the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki throughout all these years. She carried the beast inside her, using the adamantine sealing chains in her own subconscious to keep it restrained. Because of this technique, because of her ability to seal the Nine-Tails so completely, Kushina never once lost control of its power. When Kushina became pregnant with her child, the seal that held the Nine-Tails began to weaken. Pregnancy weakened the seal on any female Jinchuriki. This was a known danger. Konoha prepared carefully for the birth. They chose a secret location far from the village. They posted guards around the area. Only the most trusted shinobi knew where the birth would take place. Minato would be there to maintain the seal and keep it from breaking. An expert medical team would help with the delivery. Everything was planned to prevent disaster. But plans can fail. A masked man attacked the secret location on the night of Kushina's childbirth. This masked man killed all the guards. He killed the medical team. He took the newborn baby hostage and threatened to kill the child. Minato managed to save his son, but this gave the masked man time to escape with Kushina. The masked man had one goal. He wanted to release the Nine-Tails and use it to destroy Konohagakure. He ripped the Nine-Tails out of Kushina's body. The extraction should have killed her instantly. Any normal person would have died the moment a tailed beast was torn from their body. But Kushina was an Uzumaki. Her incredible life force allowed her to survive. She was left extremely weak, barely able to move, but she was still alive. The masked man tried to have the Nine-Tails kill Kushina to finish her off. Minato arrived in time to save her. He brought her to where their newborn son waited. Kushina stayed with the baby while Minato went to help defend the village from the Nine-Tails attack. But the Nine-Tails was too powerful. It was destroying everything. Minato had to make a terrible choice. He decided to seal the Nine-Tails inside their newborn son, Naruto. This would save the village, but it would also make Naruto a Jinchuriki from the moment of his birth. It would give him the same burden that Kushina had carried. Both Minato and Kushina knew what this meant. They knew their son would grow up alone. They knew he would face hatred from the villagers who feared the Nine-Tails. They knew he would suffer. But they also knew he was the only one who could contain the beast and save Konoha. Kushina, even in her weakened state after the extraction, even knowing she was dying, used her remaining strength to help Minato seal the Nine-Tails. The Nine-Tails tried to kill Naruto during the sealing process. Kushina threw herself in front of the attack. The Nine-Tails' claw pierced through her body. The wound was fatal. Combined with the weakness from the extraction, combined with everything she had already been through that night, this final injury was too much even for an Uzumaki to survive. In her last moments, Kushina spoke to her newborn son. She gave him advice for his life. She told him to eat his vegetables and grow strong. She told him to bathe every day and stay warm. She told him to make friends and study hard. She told him not to stay up too late. She told him simple things, the kind of things a mother would tell her child every day if she had the chance. She also told him about love. She told him the same thing Mito had told her years ago, that love was the most important thing. Before she died, Kushina told Naruto that she loved him. She told him that she wished she could have watched him grow up. She told him that she was sorry she had to leave him. Then Kushina Uzumaki died, and Minato died sealing the Nine-Tails, and baby Naruto became an orphan. The third Hokage made a decision after their deaths. He decided to give Naruto his mother's surname. The baby became Naruto Uzumaki instead of Naruto Namikaze. This protected him from his father's enemies. Minato had made many enemies as the fourth Hokage. If people knew Naruto was Minato's son, they might try to hurt him to get revenge. But if people thought he was just another orphan with the Uzumaki name, he would be safer. So Naruto grew up never knowing his father was the fourth Hokage. He grew up carrying the Uzumaki name, continuing the bloodline of the clan, even though he did not know his clan's history. Mito Uzumaki, the first Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, showed the full potential of an Uzumaki's long life. She was born before Konohagakure even existed. She lived through the era when the village was founded. She lived through the reign of the first Hokage, her husband Hashirama. She lived through the reign of the second Hokage, Hashirama's brother Tobirama. She lived well into the reign of the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. That meant she lived for many, many decades. Even in her very old age, her hair still retained its color. She aged much more slowly than normal people. While other shinobi from her generation had long since died of old age, while even younger shinobi had grown old and gray, Mito still lived. Her long life was proof of the Uzumaki clan's legendary longevity. Eventually, toward the end of her life, the village leaders decided they needed to prepare for Mito's death. They needed a new Jinchuriki ready. That was when they brought Kushina from Uzushigakure. Mito met the young girl. She comforted Kushina when the girl felt afraid about becoming a Jinchuriki. She shared her wisdom. She explained how to live with the nine tails inside you. She taught Kushina that love was the key. Then, when the time came, the nine tails was transferred from Mito to Kushina. Mito passed away sometime after that transfer, having fulfilled her duty to Konoha and having lived an incredibly long life for her era. The Uzumaki clan produced another famous descendant through Mito. Mito's granddaughter was Tsunade, who eventually became the 5th Hokage of Konohagakure. Tsunade inherited some Uzumaki traits through her grandmother. She had tremendous chakra reserves, much more than most shinobi. She also had the strong vitality of the Uzumaki bloodline. These traits helped her develop incredible strength and powerful medical ninjutsu. Tsunade's brother, Nawaki, was also a descendant of the Uzumaki clan through Mito. Even though these descendants carried Uzumaki blood, they were not full-blooded Uzumaki, and they did not have the clan's red hair, but they still benefited from the bloodline's gifts. By the time Naruto grew up and became a powerful shinobi, very few Uzumaki remained in the world. Kushina was dead. Most of the clan had died when Uzushigakure was destroyed. Nagato, who had Uzumaki blood, died during the pain attack on Konoha. Karin survived and continued to live, carrying Uzumaki blood. Naruto himself was an Uzumaki, though he did not inherit his mother's red hair. He had his father's blonde hair instead, but he absolutely inherited the Uzumaki traits. He had massive chakra reserves, more than almost anyone else. He had incredible stamina and could keep fighting when others would collapse from exhaustion. He survived injuries that should have killed him. He survived having the nine tails extracted from his body, just like his mother survived the extraction years before. The Uzumaki vitality ran strong in Naruto. When Naruto married Hinata Hyuga and had children, the Uzumaki clan gained new members. His son Boruto and daughter Himawari were part Uzumaki, part Hyuga. The clan that had been nearly wiped out, that had been scattered across the world, was recognized as active again in Konohagakure. The Uzumaki name continued. Even though Uzushigakure would never be rebuilt, even though the original Uzumaki clan was gone, the bloodline survived through Naruto and his family. The story of the Uzumaki clan shows how fear can destroy something precious. Other nations feared the Uzumaki's power. They feared the sealing techniques that could contain any threat. They feared a clan they could not control. So they destroyed Uzushigakure and scattered the clan. The Uzumaki paid a terrible price for being too skilled, too powerful, too dangerous in the eyes of others. But their legacy did not vanish. The symbol on Konoha uniforms still reminds everyone of the friendship between the Uzumaki and the Senju. The Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails were chosen from the Uzumaki bloodline because of their special abilities. The techniques they developed influenced the entire shinobi world. And through Naruto, through his determination to protect others and his refusal to give up, the true strength of the Uzumaki clan lived on. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the Night of the Nine Tails, what really happened? The Night of the Nine Tails, what really happened? The night of October 10 changed everything. 12 years before Naruto Uzumaki began his journey to become a ninja, something terrible happened to Konohagakure. The nine-tailed fox, called Kurama, attacked the village. Buildings were destroyed, people died, fires burned through the streets. But most of the villagers did not know the truth about what really happened that night. They did not know who caused the attack. They did not know why it happened. They only knew that the Nine Tails came and brought destruction. The real story began earlier that same day. Minato Namikaze was the 4th Hokage, the leader of Konohagakure. He was married to Kushina Uzumaki, who carried the Nine Tails sealed inside her body. Kushina was pregnant. She was about to give birth to their child. This created a dangerous situation. When a female Jinchuriki gives birth, the seal that holds the tailed beast becomes weak. The stress of childbirth weakens the seal so much that the beast might escape. Konoha's leaders knew this risk. They took special precautions to keep Kushina and the village safe. The birth would take place far from the village, in a remote cave hidden away from everyone. The location was kept secret from almost everyone. Only the most trusted people knew where Kushina would be. A barrier surrounded the area to keep outsiders away. Anbu guards stood watch outside the cave. Inside, skilled midwives prepared to help deliver the baby. Minato would be there to maintain the seal and make sure the Nine Tails stayed contained. Everything was planned carefully. They thought they had prepared for every possible problem. But someone found out about the birth. A man calling himself Tobi discovered the secret. His real name was Obito Uchiha, though almost no one knew his true identity. Years earlier, everyone believed Obito had died during the Third Great Ninja War. He had been crushed by rocks while saving his teammates. His body was never recovered. People thought he was dead, but Obito had survived. An old man named Madara Uchiha found him and saved his life. Madara gave Obito artificial body parts to replace what he had lost. Madara trained Obito. Most importantly, Madara twisted Obito's mind and filled it with hatred for the world. Obito learned about Kushina's pregnancy by accident. He went to the cemetery in Konoha to visit the grave of a girl named Rin Nohara. Rin had been someone very special to Obito when he was younger. She had died, and her death broke something inside Obito. At the cemetery, Obito overheard Kakashi Hatake, his former teammate, speaking at Rin's grave. Kakashi mentioned that Minato's wife Kushina would soon be giving birth. Obito heard this. He realized what it meant. Obito knew that Kushina was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. He knew that childbirth was the one time when the seal would be at its weakest. He saw an opportunity. Obito had developed a hatred for Konoha. He blamed the village for Rin's death. He blamed the village for all the pain in the world. He wanted to destroy everything. He also wanted to capture the Nine Tails for his own plans. Obito had a grand scheme that required all the tailed beasts. The Nine Tails was the most powerful of them all. If he could take control of it, he could use it as a weapon. On the night of the birth, Obito found the secret location. He used a special ability called Kamui that allowed him to make parts of his body intangible. He could slip through solid objects like they were not there. This ability let him pass through the barrier that was supposed to keep intruders out. The Anbu guards stationed outside the cave never knew what hit them. Obito killed them silently and quickly. He entered the cave. Inside, Kushina had just given birth. The baby, a boy they named Naruto, had just been born. The midwives were cleaning the newborn. Kushina lay exhausted from the delivery. The Nine Tails seal had weakened exactly as expected. Minato was preparing to restore the seal's strength. Then Obito appeared. He moved with incredible speed. Before anyone could react, he killed the two midwives. Their bodies fell. Blood spilled. Obito snatched up the newborn Naruto. Obito held a kunai knife near the baby. He threatened to kill the child if Minato tried to stop him or tried to restore Kushina's seal. Minato faced an impossible choice. If he moved to save Naruto, Kushina would be left vulnerable, and the Nine Tails might escape. If he stayed to protect Kushina, his son would die. But Minato was known throughout the world as the Yellow Flash of Konoha. He was famous for being faster than almost anyone alive. His speed came from a technique called the Flying Thunder God, which allowed him to teleport instantly to special marks he had placed. In a split second, Minato moved. He teleported to Naruto and took his son back from Obito. But Obito had planned for this. He had placed explosive tags on the baby's blanket. The tags would detonate and kill both Minato and Naruto if Minato did not get far away immediately. Minato noticed the explosive tags. He had no choice. He teleported away with Naruto to get to safety, taking the baby to one of his safe houses far from the cave. This left Kushina behind, alone and unprotected with Obito. Obito grabbed Kushina. He used Kamui to teleport both of them to a different location. He placed chains on Kushina to restrain her. She was weak from giving birth. She had no strength left to fight. Obito began to break down what remained of her seal. He worked quickly and efficiently. The seal that had held the Nine Tails for years crumbled under his assault. Then he used his Sharingan. The Sharingan is a special eye technique that belongs to the Uchiha clan. It grants many powerful abilities. One of the rarest abilities is the power to control tailed beasts. When an Uchiha looks at a tailed beast with the Sharingan, they can place the beast under their control like a puppet. Madara Uchiha had used this technique decades earlier to control the Nine Tails and use it to fight against the first Hokage. Now, Obito used the same technique. As the Nine Tails emerged from Kushina's body, Obito's Sharingan glowed. The pattern in his eye spun. The Nine Tails fell under his control instantly. Kushina survived the extraction because of her Uzumaki blood. Any normal person would have died the moment a tailed beast was ripped from their body. But Uzumaki clan members had incredible life force. Kushina was left barely alive, too weak to move, but she had not died yet. Obito did not care whether she lived or died. He had what he wanted. He commanded the Nine Tails to kill Kushina. The fox prepared to strike. Minato arrived in time. He had secured Naruto in the safe house and immediately teleported to Kushina, using a special mark he had placed on her seal. He appeared just as the Nine Tails was about to kill her. Minato grabbed Kushina and teleported her away to safety, bringing her to the same safe house where he had left Naruto. Mother and son were reunited. Kushina lay next to her baby, too weak to hold him. Minato had to leave them there. He had to go stop the Nine Tails and stop Obito. Obito commanded the Nine Tails to attack Konohagakure. The massive fox, now completely under Obito's control, charged toward the village. It was night. Most villagers were asleep. Then they heard the roar. Then they felt the ground shake. The Nine Tails appeared, towering over the buildings like a walking mountain. It was enormous, far larger than any building in Konoha. Its 9 tails whipped through the air. Each tail could destroy an entire building with a single swipe. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, sensed the tailed beast immediately. Even though he had retired from being Hokage, he rushed to defend the village. Other shinobi mobilized as well. Families ran for safety. Parents grabbed their children. The Konoha military police force tried to organize an evacuation. Civilians screamed and fled through the streets. The Nine Tails moved through the village, smashing buildings with its paws, crushing homes under its massive weight. The beast charged up an attack called a tailed beast ball. This technique gathered an enormous amount of chakra and compressed it into a sphere. When released, the tailed beast ball could destroy entire neighborhoods. The Nine Tails fired one toward the center of the village, where it would kill thousands of people and obliterate the Hokage monument. But then Minato appeared. He teleported directly into the path of the attack. He used a technique called the Flying Thunder God, guiding thunder. This technique created a barrier that redirected attacks. The tailed beast ball was deflected away from the village. It exploded in the distance, far from any people. Obito tried to interfere. He attacked Minato, trying to capture him with Kamui. Minato barely escaped, teleporting to a safe location at the last second. Obito followed him there. The two fought. Obito produced chains from his sleeves and tried to bind Minato. Minato threw a special kunai at Obito while also rushing toward him. The kunai had the Flying Thunder God mark on it. Obito let the kunai pass through his intangible head, thinking he was safe. But Minato had planned this. Obito could make himself intangible to avoid attacks. However, he had to become solid again if he wanted to attack. The moment Obito solidified to try to grab Minato, Minato teleported to the kunai that had just passed through Obito's head. Minato appeared behind Obito. He slammed a Rasengan, a spinning sphere of pure chakra, into Obito's back. The attack wounded Obito. Part of his artificial body began to peel away. More importantly, the attack gave Minato a chance to place his Flying Thunder God mark directly on Obito's body. With that mark in place, Minato could teleport to Obito whenever he wanted. Minato immediately used this advantage. He teleported to Obito again and placed a special seal on him called the Contract Seal. This seal broke the connection between Obito and whatever he had summoned. In this case, it broke Obito's control over the Nine Tails. Obito was injured. His plan had failed. He could no longer control the Nine Tails. Minato had defeated him in combat. Obito fled, using Kamui to disappear. As he vanished, he vowed that this was only a temporary setback. He would return, but for now, he had lost. The problem was that the Nine Tails was now free. Without Obito's control, the beast was no longer being commanded to attack Konoha, but it was still angry. It was still enormous and destructive. The fox tried to retreat from the village. Hiruzen and other Konoha shinobi pursued it, trying to stop it from escaping or causing more damage. The Nine-Tails responded by preparing another tailed beast ball to attack its pursuers. Minato returned to the village in time to stop this attack. He summoned a giant toad named Gamabunta directly on top of the Nine-Tails. The enormous toad crashed down on the fox, pinning it temporarily. Gamabunta held the beast down while Minato gathered enough chakra to teleport the entire creature away from the village. It took an enormous amount of power to move something that large, but Minato managed it. He teleported the Nine-Tails to the safe house where he had left Kushina and Naruto. It was the farthest location from the village that he could reach with his technique. Kushina was still there, still barely clinging to life. When the Nine-Tails appeared, she immediately used what little strength she had left. She activated the adamantine sealing chains, the special Uzumaki technique. Chains made of pure chakra erupted from her body and wrapped around the Nine-Tails. The chains bound the massive beast, holding it in place. Kushina also created a barrier around the entire area using the chains. This barrier was incredibly strong. No one could enter or leave. The third Hokage tried to break through to help, but even he could not penetrate the barrier. Inside the barrier, Kushina and Minato had to decide what to do with the Nine-Tails. Kushina made an offer. She told Minato to seal the Nine-Tails back inside her body. Even though she was dying, even though the extraction had left her at death's door, she could still be used as a vessel one more time. If the Nine-Tails was sealed back into her, it would die when she died. The beast would be gone for at least several years, until it reformed somewhere else in the world. This would save the village. But Minato refused. He had several reasons. First, he believed the Nine-Tails' power would be needed in the future. Obito had attacked them. Obito had spoken of having larger plans. Minato knew Obito would return someday. Konoha would need the Nine-Tails' power to fight against whatever Obito was planning. Second, Minato remembered something his teacher Jiraiya had told him. Jiraiya had spoken about a prophecy, about a child who would someday save the world. Jiraiya called this child the Child of Prophecy. Minato looked at his newborn son and made a decision. He believed Naruto could be that child. He believed that if Naruto had access to the Nine-Tails' power, he could use it to save the world someday. But there was a problem. Naruto was only a newborn infant. An infant's body could not contain the full power of the Nine-Tails. The beast had too much chakra. If Minato tried to seal all of it into Naruto, the seal would fail, or the baby would not survive. Minato needed to reduce the amount of chakra that would be sealed into Naruto. He decided to split the Nine-Tails in half. Minato summoned a ceremonial altar and placed baby Naruto on it. Then he performed one of the most forbidden techniques in existence. It was called the Dead Demon Consuming Seal, also known as the Reaper Death Seal. This technique summoned a spectral death god called the Shinigami. The Shinigami would seal whatever the user targeted, but the cost was absolute. The user's soul would be consumed by the Shinigami as payment. Anyone who used this technique would die. Minato used the Reaper Death Seal to separate the Nine-Tails' chakra into two halves. All chakra has two aspects, called yin and yang. The yin aspect represented the spiritual energy and the mental power. The yang aspect represented the physical energy and the life force. Minato split these two aspects apart. He sealed the yin half of the Nine-Tails into himself. As soon as he did this, Minato became a Jinchuriki. The yin half of the beast was trapped inside him. But this also meant Minato was doomed. The Reaper Death Seal was already consuming his soul. He had only minutes left to live. He had to work quickly to seal the other half into Naruto. He prepared a different sealing technique for this. It was called the 8 trigram sealing style. This technique consisted of 2 4 symbols, seals overlapping each other. It was one of the strongest sealing techniques that existed, originally developed by the Uzumaki clan. Before Minato could complete the seal, the Nine-Tails realized what they were planning. The beast understood it was about to be sealed into the infant. It refused to accept this. Using what freedom it had left, the Nine-Tails tried to kill baby Naruto with its claw. The massive claw shot forward, aimed directly at the baby lying on the altar. Minato and Kushina moved without thinking. Both of them threw themselves between their son and the attack. Both of them used their own bodies as shields. The Nine-Tails' claw pierced through them. The claw went through Kushina's torso. It went through Minato's torso. Both of them were fatally wounded. Blood poured from the wounds. They had only moments left. Kushina spoke to her newborn son. She knew these would be her last words to him. She told him to eat his vegetables, so he would grow up big and strong. She told him to take baths every day and stay warm. She told him to get enough sleep but not to stay up too late. She told him to make friends. She told him to study hard at the academy and listen to his teachers. She told him all the ordinary things a mother would tell her child if she had years to say them. She also told him about love. She told him the same thing Mito Uzumaki had told her long ago. She told Naruto that love was the most important thing in the world. She told him she loved him. She told him she wished she could watch him grow up. She told him she was sorry she had to leave him. Minato did not have much time. The Shinigami was pulling at his soul. Kushina was dying from her wound. He had to complete the sealing immediately. He wove Kushina's chakra into the seal he was creating. This meant that Kushina's chakra would remain inside Naruto even after she died. Her chakra could appear to him later when he needed help. Minato also added some of his own chakra to the seal. He programmed his chakra to activate under certain conditions. If the seal ever began to break, Minato's chakra would activate and restore it. If Naruto ever needed help controlling the Nine Tails, Kushina's chakra could appear and help him. Minato used the 8-trigram sealing style to seal the yang half of the Nine Tails into Naruto. The seal appeared on Naruto's stomach. It was done. The yang half of the Nine Tails was now trapped inside baby Naruto. The yin half was trapped inside Minato, about to be pulled into the Shinigami's stomach forever. Minato summoned a special toad named Garatora. He inscribed a key onto Garatora's body. This key could later be used to manipulate Naruto's seal, either strengthening it or removing it entirely. Minato sent Garatora to Jiraiya with instructions to keep the key safe and give it to Naruto when the time was right. The third Hokage, Hiruzen, arrived outside the barrier, just in time to see what was happening. He could not enter because of Kushina's chains. Minato did not have time to explain everything. He only had time to make one request. He asked Hiruzen to tell the villagers to see Naruto as a hero. Naruto had helped save the village by becoming the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Minato wanted the villagers to respect his son for this sacrifice, not hate him for containing the beast that had killed so many people. Then the Shinigami pulled. Minato's soul was consumed. He died instantly. The yin half of the Nine Tails went with him, sealed forever inside the death god's stomach where no one could reach it. Kushina died moments later from her wound and from the weakness of the extraction. Both of Naruto's parents died protecting him and protecting the village. Baby Naruto lay on the altar, crying, now an orphan with the most powerful tailed beast sealed inside him. The attack ended. The Nine Tails was gone. Buildings lay in ruins. Fires still burned. Bodies lay in the streets. Hundreds of shinobi and civilians had died during the attack. Many more were injured. Families had been torn apart. Children had lost their parents. Parents had lost their children. The village mourned. They did not understand what had really happened. They did not know about Obito. They did not know he had caused all of this by releasing the Nine Tails and controlling it. Most villagers believed the Nine Tails had simply attacked on its own. Tailed beasts were known to be drawn to large populations of humans. The villagers thought it was just a natural disaster, a terrible event that no one could have prevented. But Konoha's leaders suspected something different. They knew that someone with a Sharingan could control the Nine Tails. They knew only an Uchiha had that power. Suspicion fell on the Uchiha clan. The clan was innocent. None of them had been involved. But the leaders did not trust them. This suspicion would poison the relationship between the Uchiha and the village, eventually leading to tragedy years later. Hiruzen agreed to Minato's request, but the villagers did not listen. Hiruzen told them to see Naruto as a hero. He asked them to respect the boy for containing the Nine Tails. But people could not separate Naruto from the beast. When they looked at Naruto, they saw the monster that had killed their families. They saw the fox that had destroyed their homes. They hated the Nine Tails. That hatred transferred to Naruto. The third Hokage made a law that forbade anyone from speaking about Naruto being a Jinchuriki, hoping this would protect the boy. But the adults knew. They hated him. They feared him. They avoided him. Naruto grew up completely alone. He never knew his parents. He never knew his father was the fourth Hokage who saved the village. He never knew his mother was from the famous Uzumaki clan. The third Hokage gave Naruto his mother's surname to protect him from his father's enemies. But this also meant Naruto grew up not knowing his father's name. He lived in a small apartment by himself. The villagers glared at him with hatred. Shop owners refused to sell to him. Other children's parents told them to stay away from him. He had no family. He had no friends. He had nothing. But Minato had been right about one thing. The decision to seal the Nine Tails into Naruto did shape everything that came after. Naruto grew up with the Nine Tails inside him. He had access to its enormous chakra reserves. This chakra saved his life many times. It made him stronger than he should have been. It gave him incredible stamina. Eventually, through great effort and with help from the chakra his parents left behind, Naruto would learn to control the Nine Tails' power. He would befriend the beast. He would gain power that surpassed even his father. The division of the Nine Tails also had consequences. Because only the Yang half was sealed in Naruto, the beast was only at half its full strength for most of Naruto's life. The Yin half remained trapped in the Shinigami's stomach for years, until Orochimaru discovered a way to release it. When both halves were eventually reunited inside Naruto during the Fourth Great Ninja War, the Nine Tails reached its complete power again. This complete power was necessary for the battles that would come. Minato's belief in the Child of Prophecy was proven correct. Naruto did become the person who saved the world. He stopped the Fourth Great Ninja War. He defeated Obito. He defeated Madara Uchiha. He stopped the ultimate threat to the entire world. None of this would have been possible without the Nine Tails' power sealed inside him. Minato's choice, made in his final moments, had been the right one. But the cost was terrible. Naruto paid for his father's decision with a childhood of loneliness and hatred. He grew up believing no one cared about him. He acted out to get attention, even if it was negative attention. He failed at school because no one taught him properly. He struggled with the Nine Tails' influence. The beast's hatred leaked into him through the imperfect seal. Naruto had to fight against that hatred every day of his life. Years later, when Naruto finally learned the truth about what happened that night, everything made sense. He understood why the villagers hated him. He understood why he had the Nine Tails inside him. Most importantly, he learned that his parents had loved him. They had died protecting him. They had given everything for him. This knowledge changed Naruto. It gave him the strength to keep going when everything seemed hopeless. The night of the Nine Tails attack was the single most important event in Naruto's life, even though he was only hours old when it happened. Every major event that came after, every battle he fought, every friend he made, every enemy he faced, all of it traced back to that one night. Obito's attack set everything in motion. Minato's decision to split the Nine Tails and seal it into Naruto determined the course of Naruto's entire life. The sacrifice of Kushina and Minato gave Naruto the legacy he would eventually carry forward. Obito claimed afterward that he had nothing to do with the attack. He insisted it was the natural result of Konoha's sins, that the village deserved what happened. But this was a lie. Obito caused the attack. He released the Nine Tails. He controlled it and commanded it to destroy the village. He was responsible for hundreds of deaths. He was responsible for orphaning his own student's child. He was responsible for all the suffering that followed. The attack shaped not just Naruto's life, but the entire future of the shinobi world. It led to increased tensions between Konoha and the Uchiha clan. It created the conditions that would result in the Uchiha massacre. It left Naruto vulnerable to manipulation by enemies who wanted to use him. It made Naruto a target for the Akatsuki organization that sought to capture all the tailed beasts. Everything connected back to that night. The story of Naruto Uzumaki, the boy who became the greatest shinobi in the world, began on October 10 with destruction, sacrifice, and a father's desperate hope for his son's future. Minato and Kushina died believing their son would someday use the Nine Tails' power for good. They died believing love would triumph over hatred. They died believing their son would prove them right. And eventually, after years of struggle, Naruto did exactly that. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Real Sage Mode versus Fake Senjutsu. Real Sage Mode versus Fake Senjutsu. Natural energy exists everywhere in the world. It comes from the air, the water, and the earth itself. This energy moves through the entire planet constantly, flowing through nature as part of the world's natural system. Regular ninja cannot see or sense this energy. Only people specially trained in sage techniques can detect natural energy and learn to use it. Regular ninja techniques use chakra created inside the body. Chakra comes from mixing two internal energies together. Physical energy comes from the body's cells and strength. Spiritual energy comes from consciousness and willpower. When a person mixes these two energies together inside their body, they create chakra. This chakra powers all normal ninja techniques. Sage Mode works completely differently. Instead of just using internal energy, Sage Mode users absorb energy from the world around them. They pull in natural energy from their surroundings and add it to their own chakra. This creates a new type of chakra called Senjutsu chakra, which means Sage Technique chakra. Senjutsu chakra is much more powerful than regular chakra. Creating Senjutsu chakra requires perfect balance. A person must mix 3 components together in exact proportions. The first component is physical energy from the body. The second component is spiritual energy from the mind. The third component is natural energy from the world. All 3 must balance perfectly. If the balance is wrong, terrible things happen to the person trying to use Sage Mode. Learning Sage Mode is extremely dangerous. Many people who try to learn this power die in the process. The requirement for perfect balance makes Sage Mode one of the most difficult techniques to master. Even small mistakes can have catastrophic consequences. If a person adds too little natural energy to their chakra, the technique simply does not work. The Senjutsu chakra fails to form properly. The person wastes their effort and gains no benefit. This outcome is disappointing but harmless. The person can try again without permanent damage. However, if a person adds too much natural energy to their chakra, disaster strikes. The natural energy overwhelms the person's body. Their body cannot contain or control that much power. The excess natural energy triggers a forced transformation. The transformation follows a specific pattern. First, the person's body begins changing into an animal. The specific animal depends on where the person learned Sage Mode. People training at Mount Myoboku begin turning into toads. People training at Ryuchi Cave begin turning into snakes. The transformation happens quickly once it starts. If the transformation continues too far, the person turns completely into stone. This petrification is permanent and cannot be reversed. The person dies, frozen forever as a stone statue. This is why Sage Mode training has such a high death rate. Only people with enormous chakra reserves and exceptional bodies can survive the training process. Before a person can even attempt to use Sage Mode, they must meet specific requirements. The first requirement is having extreme chakra levels. A person's internal chakra reserves must be massive. People with average or even above average chakra cannot safely attempt Sage Mode training. The natural energy would overwhelm their systems immediately. The second requirement is having a body strong enough to support the increased power. Sage Mode multiplies a person's capabilities many times over. Their body must be physically capable of handling that multiplication. Weak bodies break down under the strain, even if the person successfully balances the natural energy. To enter Sage Mode, a person must remain completely still. They cannot move even slightly while gathering natural energy. Movement disrupts the gathering process. The person must become one with nature itself, sensing the energy in the environment and pulling it into their body gradually. This stillness leaves the person vulnerable to attack during the gathering phase. Once a person successfully enters Sage Mode, they cannot gather more natural energy while moving. Fighting requires constant movement, so the Senjutsu chakra cannot be replenished during battle. This means Sage Mode only lasts for limited periods of time. When the Senjutsu chakra runs out, Sage Mode ends. The person returns to normal and experiences exhaustion from using the technique. There are 2 main locations in the world where people can learn true Sage Mode. The first location is Mount Myoboku, home of the toads. The second location is Ryuchi Cave, home of the snakes. Both locations have existed for countless generations. The animals living in these places mastered Senjutsu long ago and can teach worthy students. Mount Myoboku sits in a remote location filled with natural energy. The toads who live there have developed special training methods to help students learn Sage Mode safely. The training begins with learning to sense natural energy. Students must meditate and become aware of the energy flowing around them. This initial step alone takes considerable time and practice. Once a student can sense natural energy, the toads use a special oil to help them practice gathering it. This toad oil has unique properties that attract natural energy. When applied to a person's body, the oil draws natural energy into them passively. The student experiences what gathering natural energy feels like without having to control the process themselves yet. The toad oil only works at Mount Myoboku. If taken outside the mountain, the oil evaporates and loses its special properties. This makes it useful only for learning, not for actual battle. While a student practices with the oil, the toads also keep a special staff nearby. If the student absorbs too much natural energy and begins transforming, the toads strike them with this staff. The staff knocks all the natural energy out of the person's body instantly, reversing the transformation before it becomes permanent. These safety measures greatly reduce the death rate at Mount Myoboku compared to other training locations. Students can practice gathering natural energy multiple times, learning from their mistakes without dying. Eventually, through repeated practice, the student learns to control the balance themselves. They can gather exactly the right amount of natural energy and mix it with their internal chakra properly. The toads teach students a fighting style called Frog Kumite, which works together with Sage Mode. This fighting style uses natural energy as an extension of the user's body. The user can sense attacks coming from any direction without needing to see them. They can also extend the reach of their physical strikes by manipulating the natural energy around them. An opponent might think they are safely out of range, only to get hit by an invisible extension of the Sage's attack. To help students maintain Sage Mode during battle, the toads develop the Sage Art Amphibian technique. With this technique, two toads fuse onto the user's shoulders. The toads remain still and gather natural energy while the user fights. The toads continuously create Senjutsu chakra and transfer it to the user, allowing the user to maintain Sage Mode indefinitely as long as the toads remain fused to them. Ryuchi Cave operates very differently from Mount Myoboku. The snakes have a much more dangerous approach to training. They offer no special oils or safety tools. Instead, they believe in testing students through life or death trials. When a student arrives at Ryuchi Cave seeking to learn Sage Mode, they must first prove themselves worthy. The cave contains multiple guardian snakes who test visitors through various challenges. These challenges examine the student's strength, determination, and ability to overcome fear. Many visitors fail these initial tests and never even meet the cave's master. Students who pass all the guardian challenges finally meet the White Snake Sage. This enormous white snake is the leader of Ryuchi Cave and the only one who can teach Snake Sage Mode. The White Snake Sage is an ancient being who has lived for countless years. She possesses vast knowledge of Senjutsu and can assess whether a student has the potential to survive training. The White Snake Sage's training method is brutal and direct. She bites the student with her fangs and injects natural energy directly into their body. This sudden, massive influx of natural energy immediately tests whether the student's body can handle it. If the student's body is strong enough to withstand this injection and resist the transformation into a snake, the White Snake Sage accepts them as a student. If the student's body cannot handle the power and they transform into a snake, the White Snake Sage devours them whole. There is no second chance. There are no safety measures. Students either succeed or die. This harsh method explains why so few people have mastered Snake Sage Mode. The death rate is extremely high. According to legend, only those with extraordinary bodies and chakra reserves can survive the White Snake Sage's initial test. Even among powerful ninja, very few meet these requirements. Those who survive learn to manipulate natural energy in unique ways. Snake Sage Mode teaches users to bring the environment around them to life. They can breathe life into inorganic materials and reshape the terrain according to their will. Rocks and dirt become living organisms that respond to the Sage's commands. This ability turns any battlefield into an advantage for the Snake Sage. The physical changes that occur with Sage Mode vary depending on whether a person achieves perfect balance. When someone perfectly balances natural energy with their internal chakra, they gain minimal physical changes. Their eyes change color and shape based on their training location. Dark pigmentation appears around their eyes. These markings are the signature of a true sage. Beyond these eye changes, a perfect sage retains their normal human appearance. However, if someone cannot perfectly balance the natural energy, they experience more extensive physical changes. Their body takes on more characteristics of the animal whose technique they learned. These imperfect forms are still functional and provide the power boost of Sage Mode. But the additional changes show that the person has not completely mastered the technique. Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin, used an imperfect Toad Sage Mode. When he entered Sage Mode, his nose grew larger and gained warts like a toad's skin. His teeth became sharp and pointed. He grew a goatee that was not there normally. His eyes took on fully toad-like characteristics. His feet developed webbing between the toes. His posture became more toad-like. with his body hunched forward. Jiraiya disliked these changes because he felt they made him unattractive. He used to say that using Sage Mode displeased the ladies. Despite the imperfect form, Jiraiya found ways to use these changes advantageously. The webbed feet improved his mobility in certain situations. The toad-like posture actually enhanced his balance and jumping ability. He learned to consciously activate specific transformations when they would benefit him in combat, showing that even imperfect Sage Mode could be used effectively with skill and experience. Naruto Uzumaki achieved perfect Toad Sage Mode through his training at Mount Myoboku. His appearance retained all his normal human features except for his eyes. His eyes developed yellow irides with horizontal bar-like pupils, like a toad. Orange pigmentation appeared around his eyes, marking him as a true sage. These eye markings showed that Naruto had completely mastered the balance between natural energy and his internal chakra. Minato Namikaze, Naruto's father, also achieved perfect Toad Sage Mode. Like Naruto, Minato only gained the eye changes, retaining his normal appearance otherwise. However, Minato found Sage Mode incompatible with his fighting style. Gathering natural energy took him too long. He could not produce large quantities of Senjutsu chakra quickly enough. Minato's combat strategy relied on incredible speed and instant techniques. Sage Mode required too much preparation time for his preferred fighting methods. He rarely used Sage Mode in battle, even though he had mastered it technically. Minato died before he could train enough to overcome these limitations. The benefits of Sage Mode are enormous for those who successfully master it. Every physical attribute increases dramatically. Strength multiplies several times over, allowing the user to perform feats impossible with normal chakra. Speed increases to levels where the user becomes difficult to track with normal vision. Stamina expands greatly, letting the user fight far longer than they normally could. Reflexes sharpen to superhuman levels. Durability increases, making the user's body more resistant to damage. Perception expands in all directions. Beyond physical enhancements, all of a sage's techniques become more powerful. Ninjutsu attacks gain greater force and range. Genjutsu becomes more difficult to resist. Taijutsu strikes carry devastating power. The Senjutsu chakra enhances everything the user does. Sages gain the ability to sense chakra throughout their surroundings. They can detect enemies miles away by feeling their chakra signatures. They can sense attacks coming from any angle, even from behind or from concealed positions. This sensory ability makes sages extremely difficult to surprise or ambush. The enhanced sensory abilities also provide an interesting defensive mechanism against chakra-absorbing enemies. If an opponent tries to drain a sage's chakra, they will absorb Senjutsu chakra along with normal chakra. Unless the opponent has trained in Sage Mode themselves, their body cannot handle Senjutsu chakra. The natural energy overwhelms them and turns them to stone. What should be a powerful absorption technique becomes fatal to the attacker. A sage can even deliberately gather more natural energy while being drained, accelerating the opponent's petrification. There exists a third way to access power similar to Sage Mode, but through completely different means. This method comes from the unique biology of Jugo's clan. The members of this clan possess a special ability that appears to be genetic. They can passively absorb natural energy from their surroundings without any training whatsoever. Their bodies do this constantly and automatically. This sounds like an incredible gift, but it comes with a terrible curse. The members of Jugo's clan cannot control the natural energy they absorb. The energy accumulates in their bodies continuously. When too much builds up, they lose control completely. They go berserk and enter murderous rages where they attack anyone nearby, friend or enemy alike. They have no conscious control during these episodes. The clan's ability is called Sage Transformation rather than Sage Mode. During the transformation, their bodies secrete special fluids that react with the natural energy. These fluids allow them to reshape their bodies dramatically. They can transform parts of their body into weapons. They can grow blades from their arms or create hammer-like fists. They can extend their limbs to abnormal lengths. They can harden their skin until it becomes as tough as armor. The possibilities for transformation vary between individuals. Like true Sage Mode, Sage Transformation provides massive increases to physical capabilities. Strength, speed, and durability all multiply. The person gains abilities that seem superhuman. However, The loss of mental control makes this power extremely dangerous to everyone around them. Most members of Jugo's clan isolated themselves from society to avoid hurting innocent people during their uncontrolled rages. Jugo himself lived alone in caves for years before meeting Kimimaro. Kimimaro convinced Jugo to come with him to Orochimaru, hoping that Orochimaru could cure Jugo's condition, or at least help him control it. Orochimaru became fascinated by Jugo's ability instead of trying to cure it. He wanted to understand how Jugo's clan could passively absorb natural energy and undergo such dramatic transformations. Orochimaru studied Jugo extensively. His research eventually led him to discover Ryuchi Cave. He realized that the source of Jugo's clan's power was connected to senjutsu and natural energy. Orochimaru went to Ryuchi Cave and began training under the White Snake Sage, hoping to master Sage Mode himself. However, Orochimaru could not achieve true Sage Mode. His body was not strong enough to handle the power. His chakra reserves, while large, were not at the extreme level required for Sage Mode. The host bodies he inhabited through his body-switching technique were too weak and fragile. He could learn to create senjutsu chakra but could not enter the actual Sage Mode transformation. The power remained frustratingly out of his reach. Rather than give up, Orochimaru developed an alternative. He created the Cursed Seals by combining his senjutsu chakra with an enzyme he extracted from Jugo's blood. Jugo's body naturally produced this enzyme as part of his clan's ability to transform. Orochimaru isolated this enzyme and used it as the basis for his Cursed Seals. A Cursed Seal works by absorbing the bearer's normal chakra and replacing it with Orochimaru's senjutsu chakra mixed with the transformative enzyme. This triggers changes similar to Sage transformation, but with different side effects and limitations. The Cursed Seal grants increased power to the bearer, but also places them under Orochimaru's influence. Fragments of Orochimaru's consciousness exist within each Cursed Seal, allowing him to monitor and control those who bear his mark. The Cursed Seals have two activation states. The first state appears when the seal first activates. The seal's symbol spreads across parts of the bearer's body. Their power increases significantly compared to their normal state. The second state creates a much more dramatic transformation. The bearer's entire appearance changes, often growing wing-like appendages or other unusual features. Their power increases even more, but they also lose more of their own self-control. Orochimaru tested his Cursed Seals on many subjects. Only about 1 in 10 people survived the initial application of a Cursed Seal. The other 9 died as their bodies rejected the foreign chakra and enzymes. Even among survivors, the curse mark exacted a terrible toll. It corrupted the bearer's personality over time, making them more aggressive and more susceptible to Orochimaru's manipulation. The curse mark was never meant to help people gain power. It was designed to create loyal, powerful servants under Orochimaru's control. Kabuto Yakushi, Orochimaru's right-hand man, took a different approach. After Orochimaru's apparent death, Kabuto injected himself with Orochimaru's remains. He incorporated genetic material from many of Orochimaru's test subjects into his own body. This included DNA from Jugo, which granted Kabuto the ability to passively absorb natural energy like Jugo's clan. With this ability, Kabuto traveled to Ryuchi Cave. He trained under the White Snake Sage just as Orochimaru had done. However, unlike Orochimaru, Kabuto succeeded in mastering Snake Sage Mode. The genetic modifications he had made to his body gave him what Orochimaru lacked. His body was strong enough to handle true Sage Mode. His chakra reserves had increased through all his modifications. Kabuto's version of Snake Sage Mode was unique because of the Jugo DNA in his body. Normal Sage Mode users must remain still to gather natural energy. Kabuto could absorb natural energy constantly and passively while moving. This bypassed one of Sage Mode's greatest weaknesses. Kabuto could maintain Sage Mode indefinitely as long as he wanted. He never needed to stop and gather more natural energy. The Senjutsu chakra flowed into him continuously without any conscious effort. Kabuto's appearance in Sage Mode showed the influence of his genetic modifications. His eyes became yellow and snake-like with blackened sclerae. Purple pigmentation spread around his eyes and extended down past his shoulder blades. As he drew more power, he grew 4 horns from his head. These changes went beyond typical Snake Sage Mode, reflecting all the different modifications he had made to his body. Kabuto claimed he had transcended from a snake to become a dragon, representing his achievement of surpassing his former master Orochimaru. The combination of true Snake Sage Mode with the passive absorption from Jugo's DNA made Kabuto extraordinarily powerful. He could fight at full Sage Mode power indefinitely, without the normal limitations other sages faced. This gave him a tremendous advantage in prolonged battles. His genetic modifications also gave him numerous other abilities, including enhanced regeneration, the ability to absorb other people's chakra and flesh, and various transformation techniques. During the Fourth Great Ninja War, Kabuto used his Snake Sage Mode to fight against both Sasuke Uchiha and Itachi Uchiha simultaneously. Despite facing two members of the legendary Uchiha clan, Kabuto held his own and even gained advantages at times. His Sage Mode enhancements combined with his medical knowledge and his arsenal of stolen techniques made him one of the most dangerous opponents in the entire war. Only Itachi's use of Izanami, a genjutsu that trapped Kabuto in an infinite loop, finally defeated him. The difference between true Sage Mode and fake alternatives like Cursed Seals comes down to several factors. True Sage Mode requires the user to learn to sense and balance natural energy themselves. They develop a genuine connection with nature and must maintain that balance constantly. The power comes from their own skill and training. True Sage Mode users understand what they are doing and control every aspect of the technique. Fake alternatives like Cursed Seals grant power without understanding. The bearer receives Senjutsu chakra from an external source rather than creating it themselves. They never learn to balance natural energy or truly master the technique. The power comes with strings attached, whether that means loss of control, personality corruption, or servitude to whoever created the seal. The cursed seal bearer is using someone else's power, not their own. Kabuto's version represents something between these extremes. He learned true Sage Mode through legitimate training at Ryuchi Cave. His understanding of Senjutsu was genuine. However, his method of maintaining Sage Mode relied on genetic modifications rather than pure skill. He used Jugo's DNA to bypass the normal limitations. This made his Sage Mode partially artificial, even though he had mastered the actual technique. He combined real mastery with scientific enhancement to create something unique. The path to true Sage Mode demands years of training, enormous natural talent, and willingness to risk death. Very few people in the entire ninja world ever achieve it. Those who do join an elite group of the most powerful fighters to ever live. The distinction between real and fake Senjutsu matters because true mastery represents not just power but understanding, discipline, and harmony with the natural world itself. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the Will of Fire and the Uchiha, Curse of Hatred. The Will of Fire and the Uchiha, Curse of Hatred. Konoha's philosophy centers on an idea called the Will of Fire. This philosophy shapes how the village operates and how its ninja think about their duties. The Will of Fire teaches that the entire village functions like one large family. Every ninja who truly follows the Will of Fire loves the village, believes in protecting it, cherishes the bonds between people, and fights to defend the village just as previous generations did before them. The philosophy emphasizes that the strongest power comes not from individual strength, but from unity and love between people. Protecting the village means protecting the future, especially the next generation of children who will inherit everything the current generation builds. The Will of Fire originated from beliefs that go back over 1,000 years. Asura Otsutsuki, the younger son of the Sage of Six Paths, believed that love was the key to achieving peace in the world. This belief became his life philosophy. Asura passed this philosophy down to his followers and descendants. The Senju clan descended directly from Asura and inherited his beliefs. They carried the Will of Fire philosophy through countless generations. When Hashirama Senju founded Konohagakure, he built the entire village on this foundation. The philosophy spread from the Senju to other clans who joined the village. In Konoha, a physical monument represents the Will of Fire. A sculpture of a flame stands in the village cemetery. Below this flame sculpture, the kanji for Hokage is carved into the stone. Hokage literally means fire shadow, connecting the village's leadership directly to this philosophy. Hashirama himself was depicted in historical images, sitting on a throne-like chair with a similar flame sculpture behind him, showing his connection to this ideal. The monument serves as a constant reminder to villagers about what they fight to protect. The Will of Fire teaches selflessness and dedication to the greater good. According to this philosophy, individuals should place the welfare of the village above their own personal desires or ambitions. Ninja should be willing to sacrifice themselves if necessary to protect others, especially civilians who cannot fight and the children who represent the future. The philosophy encourages people to see beyond their own clan affiliations and think of themselves as members of one larger family that encompasses the entire village. Leaders like Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, embodied the will of fire throughout his life. He was willing to sacrifice his own life for the village's sake when necessary. Many ordinary ninjas also demonstrated this philosophy through their daily acts of courage and kindness. The will of fire gave Konoha's ninja the strength to keep fighting even when facing overwhelming odds. It built willpower and strengthened resolve during difficult times. The philosophy reminded people why they fought and what they fought to protect. The will of fire includes a specific concept about protecting what is most important. The ninja of Konoha identify something they call the king. The king is not an actual monarch or ruler. Instead, the king represents whatever or whoever a person wants to protect most. Different people define their king differently based on what matters most to them. For Asuma Sarutobi and his student Shikamaru Nara, the king represented the unborn children who would inherit Konoha in the future. Protecting the king meant protecting the next generation. Konohamaru Sarutobi believed the king represented the civilian villagers who could not fight for themselves. The concept of the king helped ninja understand that they fought not for abstract ideas, but for real people who depended on them. The will of fire stands in direct opposition to another philosophy that plagued the Uchiha clan for generations. This opposing force became known as the curse of hatred. While the will of fire promoted unity, selflessness, and love, the curse of hatred drove people toward isolation, self-interest, and destructive emotions. These two philosophies were destined to clash throughout history, causing many of the greatest tragedies in the shinobi world. The curse of hatred originated with the same family as the will of fire. Indra Otsutsuki, the older brother of Asura, believed that power was the key to achieving peace. He thought that strong individuals should lead, and that strength came from dominance and superiority. When their father, the Sage of Six Paths, lay on his deathbed, he had to choose which son would carry on his legacy and inherit his teachings. Despite Indra being older and incredibly talented, the sage chose Asura because he valued Asura's belief in love over Indra's belief in power. This rejection devastated Indra. He felt betrayed by his father's choice. Jealousy and anger consumed him. Black Zetsu, a malevolent being, took advantage of Indra's emotional state and manipulated him further. Indra became convinced that his younger brother had stolen what rightfully belonged to him. The love and respect he once felt for his brother transformed instantly into overwhelming hatred. Indra waged war against Asura, determined to prove his superiority and claim what he believed was his birthright. This conflict between the brothers continued through their descendants for countless generations. The Uchiha clan descended directly from Indra. They inherited not just his powerful chakra and spiritual energy, but also his emotional patterns and beliefs. The curse of hatred became an integral part of the Uchiha clan's nature, affecting how they processed emotions and responded to loss. Tobirama Senju, who became the second Hokage, studied the Uchiha clan extensively during his lifetime. He developed a deep understanding of how the curse functioned and why the Uchiha behaved the way they did. According to Tobirama's explanation, the Uchiha are people who feel emotions more intensely than members of any other clan. They are capable of experiencing the deepest love and the strongest friendship bonds. No clan values their loved ones more than the Uchiha do. However, the Uchiha tend to conceal their more affectionate traits rather than displaying them openly. This tendency to hide their feelings makes their emotional responses more explosive when something triggers them. When an Uchiha loses someone they love deeply, their intense affection can transform into equally intense hatred in an instant. The speed of this transformation is frightening. Love that took years to build can convert to hatred in a single moment of loss. This emotional transformation has a physical component. When an Uchiha experiences profound despair from losing someone precious to them, their body responds in a unique way. A special type of chakra manifests in their brain. This chakra affects the optic nerves, causing a physiological change in their eyes. This process creates or awakens the Sharingan, the Uchiha clan's legendary eye technique. Tobirama literally referred to the Sharingan as the eye that reflects feelings, because the eye's awakening is directly tied to emotional pain. The Sharingan does not come from happiness or positive experiences. It emerges from suffering. An Uchiha must experience traumatic loss to awaken their eyes. The more painful the experience, the stronger the Sharingan becomes. When an Uchiha undergoes additional traumatic experiences after awakening their basic Sharingan, the eyes can evolve further. The Sharingan gains additional Tomoe markings, increasing its power with each evolution. Using the Sharingan in battle also enhances the user's combat abilities by channeling their intense emotions, especially hatred, into their fighting power. The Sharingan's most advanced form requires even more extreme suffering. To awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, an Uchiha must experience something unbearably painful that pushes them into complete darkness. This level of trauma causes the user to delve into despair so deep that it utterly consumes them. Many Uchiha awaken their Mangekyo Sharingan after witnessing the death of their closest friend or the person they loved most in the world. Itachi Uchiha awakened his Mangekyo after his best friend Shisui died. Obito Uchiha awakened his Mangekyo after watching Rin Nohara die. Sasuke Uchiha awakened his Mangekyo after killing his brother Itachi and then learning the truth about Itachi's sacrifice. The pattern creates a terrible cycle. The Uchiha's power grows through suffering. To become stronger, they must experience deeper pain. This creates an incentive, whether conscious or unconscious, to seek or accept situations that cause more trauma. The pursuit of power becomes intertwined with the experience of loss. Some Uchiha throughout history deliberately sought to cause or experience traumatic events to awaken stronger forms of their eyes. This behavior demonstrates how completely the curse of hatred could dominate an Uchiha's thinking and decision-making. The curse of hatred manifests as more than just emotional responses. It shapes the Uchiha's worldview and priorities. While the will of fire teaches selflessness and sacrificing oneself for many, the curse of hatred encourages self-interest and sacrificing many for the benefit of a few. The curse makes Uchiha prone to believing that their clan's needs or their personal goals justify any action, regardless of the consequences for others. This perspective puts them at odds with the village's philosophy. The Uchiha become more likely to pursue their own objectives, even when those objectives harm the greater community. The clash between the will of fire and the curse of hatred shaped Konoha's history from its very foundation. Madara, Uchiha, and Hashirama Senju met as children and became close friends. They both dreamed of a world where children would not have to fight and die in wars. They shared a vision of peace. However, their clans remained enemies, forcing the two friends to fight each other repeatedly as they grew older. Eventually, Hashirama and Madara ended the cycle of warfare between their clans and founded Konohagakure together. The village should have represented the fulfillment of their childhood dream. However, Madara could not let go of his hatred for the Senju. Even after the clans made peace and formed the village, Madara remained suspicious and resentful. When the village prepared to select its first Hokage, the position went to Hashirama rather than Madara. The other clan members, including many Uchiha, supported Hashirama because they trusted him more. This rejection awakened Madara's sense of being passed over, much like Indra felt when his father chose Asura. Madara's love for the village transformed into hatred. He believed the Senju were manipulating events to keep the Uchiha subordinate. Madara left the village and eventually returned to attack it, attempting to destroy what he and Hashirama had built together. Hashirama defeated Madara, but this victory came at a terrible emotional cost. The will of fire taught Hashirama that the village's welfare mattered more than his personal feelings, so he fought against his former friend. The curse of hatred drove Madara to destroy the village rather than accept what he saw as continued subordination to the Senju. Even in death, Madara's hatred continued to influence the world through the plans he left behind. The second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, understood the danger the curse of hatred posed to Konoha's stability. He attempted to address this problem by assigning the Uchiha clan to control the Konoha military police force. He believed giving the Uchiha responsibility for maintaining law and order would keep them busy and distract them from their negative emotions. He hoped the position would help the Uchiha feel valued and integrated into village society. However, this decision had unintended consequences. The police force position eventually became a way to isolate the Uchiha from other aspects of village life. It created a separation between the Uchiha and other clans rather than fostering integration. Years later, during the Nine-Tails attack on Konoha, village elders began suspecting that an Uchiha was responsible for the attack. Their suspicion was not baseless. The Sharingan could control tailed beasts, including the Nine-Tails, and Uchiha would have the capability to orchestrate such an attack. Unknown to the village leadership, Obito Uchiha actually was responsible for the Nine-Tails attack, which meant their suspicions were correct even though they did not know the specific individual involved. However, the village's response to their suspicions pushed the entire Uchiha clan toward rebellion. The leadership ordered the Uchiha to stay away from the fight and patrol the village borders instead of helping defend against the Nine-Tails. This order clearly communicated that the village did not trust the Uchiha even during a crisis that threatened everyone's lives. The Uchiha felt insulted and marginalized. The village eventually forced the Uchiha clan to relocate to the outskirts of Konoha, physically separating them from the rest of the village. This isolation increased the Uchiha's resentment and fed into the curse of hatred. The Uchiha clan began planning a coup to take control of the village government. They felt they had no other option to improve their situation and restore their honor. The clan believed that seizing power would allow them to prove their worth and end the discrimination they experienced. However, the proposed coup would have resulted in massive bloodshed. A civil war within Konoha would have weakened the village so severely that other nations would likely attack, starting another great ninja war. Countless innocent people would die, but the Uchiha planning the coup were willing to accept these consequences. Their focus on clan pride and their own grievances blinded them to the broader implications of their actions. This demonstrates how the curse of hatred prioritizes the few over the many. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, attempted to negotiate with the Uchiha and find a peaceful solution. He wanted to address the Uchiha's legitimate grievances without resorting to violence. However, Danzo Shimura, a village elder who operated in the shadows, concluded that negotiation would fail. Danzo decided that the Uchiha clan must be eliminated to prevent the coup and protect the village. He arranged for Itachi Uchiha to carry out the massacre of his own clan. Itachi Uchiha represents one of the most tragic examples of the clash between these two philosophies. Itachi was born into the Uchiha clan, but somehow transcended the curse of hatred. He witnessed war as a young child, which gave him a different perspective on conflict than most of his clan possessed. Itachi understood that war brought nothing but suffering to everyone involved. He valued peace above personal or clan interests. Despite being an Uchiha, Itachi embraced the will of fire completely. He put the village's welfare above his clan's desires and even above his own happiness. When Danzo ordered the massacre, Itachi faced an impossible choice. He could side with his clan and participate in the coup, which would result in civil war and countless deaths. Or, he could side with the village and kill his own family to prevent the coup. Itachi chose the village. He killed everyone in the Uchiha clan except for his younger brother Sasuke. Itachi wanted to preserve at least one Uchiha who might have a different future. He spared Sasuke but manipulated him into seeking revenge, believing this would give Sasuke a purpose and keep him away from the curse of hatred's more destructive aspects. Itachi's actions demonstrated the will of fire taken to its most extreme conclusion. He sacrificed his reputation, his family, his happiness, and eventually his life for the village's sake. The village leadership declared him a criminal and a traitor. People believed he murdered his clan out of a desire to test his power or simple madness. Itachi accepted this reputation because it served the village's interests. He lived in exile, suffering from a terminal illness, working as a spy among the criminals, while bearing the guilt of his actions alone. The curse of hatred should have destroyed him, but Itachi's commitment to the will of fire kept him focused on his mission until his death. Sasuke Uchiha's story shows how the curse of hatred could consume even someone who initially demonstrated will of fire characteristics. Sasuke witnessed his entire clan's massacre as a child. The trauma awakened his Sharingan. Itachi deliberately traumatized Sasuke further by using genjutsu to force him to experience the massacre repeatedly. Sasuke's entire childhood disappeared in an instant, replaced by the single-minded goal of avenging his clan by killing Itachi. The curse of hatred took root in Sasuke's heart immediately. As Sasuke grew older, his Sharingan evolved alongside his hatred. Every time he experienced more loss or betrayal, his eyes became stronger. When he fought Naruto at the Valley of the End and realized he could not match his best friend's power, the experience pushed his Sharingan to its final stage with 3 Tomoe. Sasuke then left Konoha to train under Orochimaru, abandoning his bonds with his teammates to pursue greater power. The Curse of Hatred told him that power mattered more than relationships, directly contradicting the Will of Fire's teachings. After Sasuke killed Itachi, he learned the truth about the massacre. Obito Uchiha revealed that Itachi had been ordered by the village to kill the clan. Itachi was not a villain but a hero who sacrificed everything to prevent civil war. This revelation should have brought Sasuke peace, but instead it intensified his hatred to new levels. His hatred shifted from Itachi to the entire village that had ordered his clan's destruction. Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan awakened from the trauma of learning this truth. He decided to destroy Konoha completely as revenge for what the village did to the Uchiha clan. At this point, Sasuke became the sole inheritor of the Uchiha clan's accumulated hatred. He carried not just his own pain but the collective resentment of his entire massacred clan. Sasuke's hatred drove him to attack the 5 Kage summit and attempt to kill the village leaders. He fought anyone who got in his way, including his former teammates. The Curse of Hatred pushed him toward increasingly self-destructive behavior. However, Sasuke eventually encountered the reincarnated Itachi during the 4th Great Ninja War. Itachi told Sasuke the complete truth about his actions and professed his undying love for his younger brother. This revelation shook Sasuke's resolve and created confusion within him. Sasuke then used forbidden techniques to summon and speak with the previous Hokages, including Hashirama, Tobirama, Hiruzen, and his father Minato. He heard the full history of Konoha's founding and the truth about the Uchiha clan's situation from multiple perspectives. Tobirama explained the Curse of Hatred to Sasuke directly, helping him understand the emotional pattern that had controlled him. After hearing everything, Sasuke's ideology became a mixture of the Curse of Hatred and the Will of Fire. He decided he would execute the 5 Kage and make the entire world focus its hatred on him instead of each other. This plan represented a twisted version of selfless sacrifice, with Sasuke bearing all the world's darkness alone to create peace through fear. Naruto Uzumaki, Asura's reincarnation, refused to accept Sasuke's plan. Naruto represented the Will of Fire in its purest form. He believed in bonds between people, in redemption, and in changing hearts through understanding and love. Naruto fought Sasuke one final time at the Valley of the End. The battle was not just between 2 ninjas, but between 2 philosophies that had been at war for over 1,000 years. Naruto eventually defeated Sasuke and proved that love and friendship were stronger than hatred and isolation. Sasuke finally let go of the Curse of Hatred and accepted the Will of Fire. With Sasuke redeemed, the Curse of Hatred that had plagued the Uchiha clan for generations finally ended. Some Uchiha throughout history managed to resist or overcome the Curse of Hatred even before its final elimination. Kagami Uchiha, who served under the 2nd Hokage, transcended clan thinking and embraced the Will of Fire. His descendant, Shisui Uchiha, did the same, becoming one of the most loyal and selfless ninjas in Konoha's history. Shisui died trying to prevent the Uchiha coup peacefully, sacrificing himself for the village's sake. His actions inspired Itachi to follow a similar path. Even Obito Uchiha, despite falling completely to the Curse of Hatred for many years, never fully lost his original Will of Fire nature. Kakashi Hatake theorized that Obito experienced constant inner conflict between the 2 philosophies, which prevented him from fully committing to his destructive plans. This internal struggle eventually allowed Obito to be redeemed before his death. Sasuke's daughter, Sarada Uchiha, represents the Uchiha clan's new future. Sarada grew up in a time of peace, raised by loving parents, without experiencing the trauma that defined previous generations of Uchiha. She awakened her Sharingan not through loss and hatred, but through love and excitement when meeting her father for the first time after years of separation. She later awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan when desperately wanting to protect Boruto from being hunted as a traitor. Her eyes evolved through love and the desire to protect rather than through hatred and the desire for revenge. Sarada embodies the Will of Fire completely, with her goal being to become Hokage and protect the village. With Sarada, the Uchiha bloodline continues but free from the Curse of Hatred that destroyed so many of her ancestors. The contrast between the Will of Fire and the Curse of Hatred shaped the entire Naruto story. The Will of Fire teaches that protecting others and maintaining bonds creates true strength. It prioritizes the community over the individual and the future over the present. The Curse of Hatred teaches that personal power matters most and that strength comes from dominance. It prioritizes individual or clan interests over community welfare and seeks to avenge the past rather than build the future. These opposing philosophies created a cycle of conflict that lasted over 1,000 years. Only when individuals chose love over hatred, bonds over isolation, and forgiveness over revenge could the cycle finally break. The resolution came not through one philosophy destroying the other, but through individuals choosing to embrace the Will of Fire's teachings, even when they had every reason to give in to hatred. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Jinchuriki life and Bijou extraction rules. When a tailed beast gets pulled out of its host, death normally follows within seconds. This happens because the beast's massive chakra becomes woven into the person's own life force over time. The body relies on that chakra to function, treating it as part of itself. Removing something that fundamental tears the person apart from the inside. The extraction drains both the beast's power and the host's natural energy at once, leaving nothing to sustain life. The connection between host and beast runs deeper than most people understand. From the moment of sealing, the two chakra systems begin mixing together. Think of it like salt dissolving in water. Once combined, separating them means taking away part of the water itself. The host's chakra pathways grow dependent on the beast's presence, expanding to hold power far beyond what a normal human body could manage. When that power suddenly vanishes, the pathways collapse and the body shuts down. Every Jinchuriki who faced extraction during the Akatsuki's hunt died this way. The organization used a technique called the 9 Phantom Dragons, consuming seals to pull beasts into the demonic statue of the outer path, and every target fell dead after the process finished. The Akatsuki went after Jinchuriki in numerical order, starting with the one tail and working their way up. Gaara of the Sand was first. When Deidara defeated him and dragged him to the hideout, the Akatsuki members positioned themselves around the statue and began the extraction. The technique took 3 full days of constant work to complete. By the end, Gaara lay dead on the floor. His teammates and Naruto arrived too late to stop it. However, Gaara's story did not end there. An elderly woman named Chiyo stepped forward with a forbidden technique she had created decades earlier. Chiyo developed one's own life reincarnation, specifically to bring back her grandson Sasori's parents, though she never got the chance to use it on them. The technique transfers the user's complete life force into a dead person, trading one life for another. Originally designed only for the deceased, the jutsu can also save someone on death's edge, though that version leaves the user exhausted rather than dead. Chiyo chose to give everything to restore Gaara. She placed her hands on his chest and poured her chakra into his body. Naruto helped by adding his own chakra since Chiyo had depleted most of hers, fighting Sasori moments before. The pale blue glow surrounded Gaara as Chiyo's life energy became his own. She died peacefully, satisfied that she had finally done something truly good with her abilities. Gaara returned to life without Shukaku inside him, proving that survival after extraction was possible with immediate intervention. Some people possess natural advantages that let them cling to life longer than others. The Uzumaki clan stands out for this exact trait. Members of this family inherit extraordinarily strong life forces that grant them massive chakra reserves, rapid healing, extended lifespans, and incredible stamina. These qualities made them ideal candidates for hosting the Nine Tails. Mito Uzumaki was born before Konoha's founding and lived well into the 3rd Hokage's reign, a span of many decades. Her vitality came purely from her bloodline. Kushina Uzumaki demonstrated this same resilience on the night Naruto was born. Female Jinchuriki face a unique vulnerability during childbirth. The seal weakens dramatically because the mother's body focuses all its energy on nurturing the child in the womb rather than maintaining the seal. Villages learned this the hard way and developed strict protocols. When Kushina went into labor, she left the village in secret, with Minato acting as guardian and ANBU members providing extra security. A masked man attacked anyway, killing everyone except Minato and taking Naruto hostage. When Minato saved his son, the attacker seized the opportunity to rip the Nine Tails from Kushina's body. Most people would have died instantly. Kushina survived the extraction, though she was severely weakened. The masked man ordered the Nine Tails to finish her off, but Minato rescued her first. She even helped him fight after that, using her adamantine sealing chains to restrain the beast despite having just given birth and lost her tailed beast. Her Uzumaki blood kept her alive for precious minutes when anyone else would have already been gone. Eventually, Minato sealed the Nine Tails into Naruto, splitting it in half and taking the yin portion into himself with the Reaper Death Seal. Kushina and Minato both died that night, but they spent their final moments together with their newborn son. Kushina knew she was dying from the extraction and used her remaining time to pass on her love and hopes to Naruto. Years later, Naruto himself faced the same threat. After Madara became the Ten Tails Jinchuriki and gained godlike power, he used the demonic statue's chains to forcibly extract Kurama from Naruto's body. Naruto collapsed immediately, his life fading fast. His Uzumaki heritage bought him time, but not much. He would have died within minutes if help had not arrived. Sakura performed emergency medical treatment to keep his heart beating while others scrambled for a solution. Gaara explained that even the best medical techniques could not save someone after beast extraction. They needed to reseal a tailed beast inside Naruto immediately. Obito Uchiha provided that solution. After turning against Madara and stealing fragments of the One Tail and Eight Tails from him, Obito used Kamui to reach the dimension where Sakura protected Naruto. He transferred the yin half of Kurama along with chakra from the other tailed beasts into Naruto's body. Black Zetsu had stolen Yin Kurama from Minato's reanimated corpse and Madara, giving Obito the chance to redirect it. The infusion of beast chakra stabilized Naruto's condition and brought him back from death's door. This proved that resealing a beast fast enough could reverse the fatal effects of extraction. Some Jinchuriki found creative ways around the death rule. Killer Bee, the host of the Eight Tails Gyuki, had achieved perfect synchronization with his beast. They trusted each other completely and worked as partners rather than prisoner and jailer. During the Fourth Shinobi War, Madara used the demonic statue to extract Gyuki from Bee's body. The beast saw this coming and made a split-second decision. Right before the extraction finished, Gyuki severed one of its own tentacles and left it inside Bee with a portion of its chakra still attached. The main body of the Eight Tails got pulled into the statue, but the severed tentacle remained behind. This small fragment of chakra acted as a lifeline for Killer Bee. The extraction should have killed him instantly, but the tentacle provided just enough beast energy to keep his systems functioning. He fell unconscious and seemed dead to everyone watching. Madara moved on to other targets, assuming Bee had died like all the others. In reality, Bee clung to life inside the tentacle's chakra. He remained in critical condition, unable to move or fight, but alive. Later, after the war ended and the tailed beasts were freed, Gyuki reunited with Bee properly. The beast returned to its partner by choice, restoring their bond and Bee's full power. Obito's survival after losing the Ten Tails proved even more unusual. When the allied shinobi forces combined their strength to force the tailed beasts out of Obito, they expected him to die immediately. Instead, he merely collapsed and lay motionless. Yin Kurama explained the situation to Minato. The demonic statue of the Outer Path remained sealed inside Obito even after the beast chakra was removed. The statue served as the Ten Tails' empty shell, a container with enormous life force but no consciousness or power. That residual energy sustained Obito's body, keeping him from dying outright. However, he could not move or defend himself. The life force prevented death, but left him completely paralyzed. When Madara later used his Rinnegan to summon the statue out of Obito's body, the situation changed again. Extracting the statue should have killed Obito for certain since nothing remained to support his life. Black Zetsu attached itself to Obito at that moment, using its own strange chakra to maintain his vital functions. Obito hung on to existence through Black Zetsu's intervention until Naruto arrived with Six Paths power. Naruto's enhanced abilities allowed him to stabilize Obito properly, giving him enough energy to survive without the statue, or Black Zetsu. Obito lived because of 3 separate interventions in a row, each one preventing death at the last second. Tailed beasts themselves can exist in multiple forms at once under certain conditions. They are pure chakra constructs, not flesh and blood animals. This nature allows them to leave fragments of themselves behind even when the main body goes elsewhere. After the war ended and the tailed beasts gained their freedom, all 9 scattered across the world to live as they wished. Gyuki and Kurama chose to return to their partners, Killer Bee and Naruto. Yet pieces of each beast's chakra remained inside Naruto from when they all joined forces against Madara. These fragments were not enough to grant full Jinchuriki powers, but they let the beasts communicate with Naruto telepathically. His body became a meeting ground where the beasts could gather in spirit form to discuss threats and coordinate responses. The Gold and Silver brothers from the Hidden Cloud gained tailed beast abilities through an even stranger method. During an attempt to capture Kurama decades before the main story, the fox swallowed both brothers whole. Most people would have died immediately, dissolved by the beast's internal chakra. Instead, Kinkaku and Ginkaku survived for 2 weeks inside Kurama's stomach by eating its flesh from the inside. The constant exposure to the Ninetales' chakra and consuming its physical form granted them abilities similar to actual Jinchuriki. They gained massive chakra reserves, could manifest partial chakra cloaks, and even reached the 4-tailed transformation state. Eventually, Kurama vomited them back up, unable to digest them or stop their rampage from within. Their success only happened because they were distant relatives of the Sage of Six Paths, giving them special chakra that could withstand what would kill anyone else. The Hidden Cloud attempted to replicate this achievement by feeding 8-Tails tentacles to other ninja. Every single test subject died from consuming the flesh. Only the Gold and Silver brothers had the bloodline necessary to survive such treatment. When the brothers were killed and later resurrected during the Fourth War, they retained all their beast-derived powers, because those abilities had fully merged with their chakras over time. Some individuals managed to acquire beast chakra without ever being full, Jinchuriki. Naruto collected fragments from all 9 beasts during the war, pieces given freely rather than sealed by force. Son Goku, the 4-Tails, gave Naruto some of its chakra after recognizing his sincerity. The same happened with several other beasts who saw Naruto as the person the Sage of Six Paths had foretold. These fragments did not make Naruto their Jinchuriki in the traditional sense, but they granted him access to their signature abilities. He combined Son Goku's lava release with his Rasengan to create the lava release Rasen Shuriken, a devastating attack that nearly killed Madara despite his enhanced state. The ninja world designated certain individuals as pseudo-Jinchuriki when they had beast chakra sealed inside them, but not the actual beast. During the Fourth War, Naruto shared Kurama's chakra with every member of the allied shinobi forces, wrapping them in miniature chakra cloaks. This granted them enhanced strength, speed, and healing without making them true hosts. In the anime, characters like Sora had Ninetales chakra sealed within them after it was harvested from Kurama, giving them access to beast transformations despite never containing the full creature. These pseudo-hosts did not face the same death risk from extraction, since they lacked the deep fusion that real Jinchuriki developed over time. Perfect. Jinchuriki, who had fully tamed their beasts, could perform partial extractions safely. They learned to summon their beast outside their bodies while retaining enough chakra to avoid dying. The beast would manifest separately to fight alongside them, then either be resealed or dismiss itself back into the host afterward. This required absolute trust and cooperation between host and beast, something achieved by only a handful of people throughout history. These individuals proved that the death rule had limits when both parties worked in perfect harmony. The standard sealing techniques varied by village. Konoha used the 8 trigram seal, which Minato designed specifically for the Ninetales. The Hidden Cloud employed the Iron Armor seal for their 8-Tails host. Different seals offered different levels of security and different amounts of access to the beast's power. Some allowed gradual mixing of chakras over time, while others kept the two separated more strictly. The seal's quality determined how easily a host could tap into beast chakra and how vulnerable they were to the beast breaking free during moments of weakness. Villages selected Jinchuriki carefully, often choosing individuals from the Kage's family to ensure loyalty and provide protection. Killer Bee was the brother of the 4th Raikage. Gaara was the son of the 4th Kazekage. Naruto's father was the 4th Hokage. This pattern repeated across nations, creating a tradition where the village's most important weapon also came from its most important family. Compatibility mattered greatly as well. Not everyone could successfully host a beast. Special chakra types increased the chances of survival and gave better control over the sealed entity. The extraction process itself proved extremely painful and drawn out. When Akatsuki captured Jinchuriki, the extraction using the Phantom Dragon's seal took days of continuous work. Multiple members had to maintain the technique without stopping, channeling the beast's power bit by bit into the demonic statue. The victim remained conscious and in agony for most of this time, feeling their life force drain away slowly. Death came as a mercy when the process finally completed. Only the most powerful medical intervention or immediate resealing could save someone after facing this horror. The Sage of Six Paths himself stated clearly that extraction meant death for the host. This rule stood as an absolute law of the tailed beast system for 1,000 years. Yet the story of Naruto showed repeatedly that rules could be bent or broken under the right circumstances. Uzumaki vitality, chakra fragments, external life transfers, perfect synchronization, and immediate resealing all provided paths around the death sentence. These exceptions proved rare and difficult, requiring either special bloodlines, incredible luck, or allies willing to sacrifice themselves. Most Jinchuriki who lost their beasts simply died, their bodies unable to survive without the chakra that had become part of their fundamental existence. Tailed beasts cannot actually be destroyed. They are pure chakra constructs, not living beings in the traditional sense. When killed, their chakra disperses and reforms elsewhere over time. This revival process takes years, leaving the beast powerless and scattered until it fully reconstitutes. Because of this, killing the Jinchuriki while the beast remained sealed inside would also destroy the beast temporarily. Villages feared this outcome since losing access to their beast meant losing military power and waiting potentially decades for its return. The beasts themselves grew protective of their hosts to avoid this fate, offering chakra during critical moments to prevent death even when they hated their imprisonment. The connection between life and extraction remains one of the ninja world's harshest realities. Becoming a Jinchuriki means accepting that losing the beast will kill you unless exceptional circumstances intervene. Every host lives with this knowledge, understanding that their greatest weapon also acts as their greatest vulnerability. Some accept it gladly, seeing their role as an honor and duty. Others resent the burden forced upon them without choice. Regardless of personal feelings, the biological truth stays the same. The beast's chakra becomes your chakra, woven so tightly into your existence that separation tears you apart. The few who survived extraction became legends precisely because they accomplished the impossible. Their stories inspired hope that perhaps the death rule was not as absolute as everyone believed. Yet they also proved how much had to go right for survival. Natural advantages, split-second decisions, external intervention, and sheer luck all played roles in these miraculous outcomes. For most Jinchuriki throughout history, extraction meant the end. Their lives and deaths served as reminders of both the power and the terrible price of hosting a tailed beast. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.